And we're now officially live. We had a bit of a hiccup early on. For some reason, occasionally my keyboard throws a tantrum, and it just sometimes won't actually input things sometimes. I think it's a Windows 10 thing. Hey there, everyone. Name's Adam.
Hi, I'm Randall. Yeah, that's the noise I made when I just read who backed this, like the usernames.
I know that this
Because
is just me. This is just me dealing with the encompassing pain.
Yeah, because you see, I'm seeing some cyberpunk terms in chat. We're not getting cyberpunk. We have cyberpunk at home. Say hello to
yeah,
cyberpunk at home.
yeah,
Hardwired Island.
That
and it
hurts.
and it
That
lets you
hurts.
know it's retrofuturistic, cause that's a trope, and you need it. Making media by just mashing up TV trope pages together is good.
I think my favorite element is you have the clear nod to Acura by naming one of the corporations Tetsuo. You have the O'Neill cylinders from Gundam, even though they've been around since the 70s in other actual
It gets
works.
worse. It gets worse.
Bit of Mirror's Edge thrown in.
Yep.
There's
I
the
mean, you know,
hoverboard from Back to the Future.
Then there's the QT cat neat girl
yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah, the
It's
Watch Dogs 2 character, only without the annoying emoji helmet.
and a night elf
or
posing
is
on a
that wait? I thought that was
crane.
the same. I thought that was the Saints Row character.
Oh no! See, there's like a night elf posing on the crane on the left. See?
Oh yeah, the clear Karate Kid ripoff nod here.
I thought it was just
So
Cyber Ninja.
yeah, this
It is, but
like
still.
the front page like looks competent at first, and then you start noticing the details, and it's like, oh, these are warning signs.
I wouldn't
And
necessarily call this a complete warning, not yet.
yeah, no, it looks fine.
It looks like a perfectly fine product. And then you go not to the next page, which is just, I think, actually an O'Neill cylinder from Gundam, just retraced, or maybe some old art made from 1976. And then you find out, not the consultants, not the additional writing, the sponsors.
Yep.
Anime feminist and big gay nerds.
That was the point where it's like, yep, yeah, this is it for a shit show. It was either that or seeing the authors
POC
listing
gamer.
their Twitter handles.
It's a little thing, but POC gamer.
Also, oh, I didn't notice that. The revival of colored folk. That's my favorite revival of neo-racism. Unjust Depths also comes to mind. Also, Neon Shutter. I think that's what we're doing right now. We're shuttering so hard we're red shifting.
Cyberpunk
Viewer discretion is advised. Hardwired Island is written for a mature audience.
Doubt it.
AKA, we use fucking shit and pussy a lot.
Yeah, it's written for man toddlers.
Those are big boy words.
Oh,
so it's not our intention to make a grim and gritty RPG. This game still touches on mature and or potentially uncomfortable themes, including but not limited to misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, bigotry, police brutality, political violence, and financial insecurity.
Well, no shit, it's a cyberpunk setting. What do you fucking expect? Also, because it's a cyberpunk setting, why would transphobia exist? You can literally build your own robotic gay catgirl body. Like, what the fuck? You know what Eclipse Phase did at least? Was it Phase Shift Eclipse? That one's also written by fairly awakened people, but because of transhumanism being a thing, they don't have to focus hard on it. They just focus on what they call the chuds, the equivalent of their chuds. Which I think are the Jupiterians, if I remember right.
And not even getting into Cyberpunk, but going to another Cyberpunk-esque book, Robotic Age didn't have this problem.
Oh god, no. There are some issues with its world building, but yeah.
Yeah, but like Robotic Age had more fucking nuance
and,
already.
and variety, because you could take it as Mega Man as I do, Transformers as you do, or just Blade Runner. It's a catch-all grab bag sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
boy.
oh boy, the year is 2020, the year of the clown.
Also, clearly trying to ape something from another game that had 2020 in it.
How embarrassing!
Like I don't like. There's nothing wrong with it with showing your influence, but just from this page contents, the year is 2020. Then occupations, because it's right next to it, so your eye catches it.
Fixer.
Occupation fixer.
Well, it might not be pure cyberpunk, because
Yeah,
when I think of hacker, I think of System Shock.
I know, but like
Look
really,
at you, hacker.
but like really, they like when they were setting up this page, they had to know that these were some of the first things that you would catch your eye. The year is 2020. Occupation fixer.
Grug. You know, no, they very intentionally put it in 2020 because they hate Michael Pondsmith.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They would. No, this is the true Cyberpunk RPG. That fucking hack uppity man. He's not a real Cyberpunk. We are.
I think my favorite occupation, and I'm going to look forward to it, is how they write the influencer. Because I can feel my bones already moving into attack mode.
I just want to point out that they can't even go 2 sentences without fucking something up. It says a meteorite struck Earth's northern hemisphere.
Oh boy.
A meteorite is a piece of a meteor or an asteroid that's already on the surface. And they keep repeating this.
Yep, meteorites.
To cause an impact, it would have to be an asteroid.
Yeah. Well, no. Meteorites and meteors, they can be asteroids. They are small bodies.
Yeah.
The problem is, okay, so a meteorite struck Earth's northern hemisphere in 1996. Okay, we get that. It must have been big enough to land. The impact caused widespread environmental damage that humanity is yet to fully recover from. If the thing was that big, we'd be fucking dead.
Honestly, from the way it's written, it kind of makes it sound like it less struck the planet and more just like tore a hole in the ozone.
Yeah, just like the magic environmental destroying meteor. No, it would cause mass extinction, and I don't think we as humans could survive that.
I mean, unless it like struck the North Pole directly and cracked it open.
No, because of the Category 11 earthquake and the gigantic mega waves and the wave of gigantic fire.
Maybe they meant like something like a Tunguska scale thing that blew up a city, but no.
No, that wouldn't cause enough environmental damage. You get what I mean? How that kind of doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there have been impact winners before.
True, but that's not in widespread permanent damage.
And it seems the mechadendrite creature has finally arrived.
Yeah, I made it.
Oh, hey, Tech.
Yeah, I'm beast, and I finally made it. Someone said
finally
Cyberpunk,
untied.
and
yeah, he finally untied his mechadendrites.
Well, we don't got a city to burn, cowboy. We just got a book.
I know, which is a pity, because there are a lot of cities that must burn. Starting with whichever one you are in. Yes, you, listener.
Specifically you. It's entirely your fault.
Yes, get the FBI on our case. Incite violence.
We're at the part where a meteorite large enough to cause widespread ecological damage, but not big enough to wipe out humanity, slammed into the planet somewhere.
The northern hemisphere. So
that could be as far south as Ecuador.
Well, my guess is that it would have landed somewhere in Siberia.
Yeah, but if it's that big,
it was God smiting Pootler.
Why not?
The problem with that, though, is if it's that big, the crust uplift, the massive amount of volcanic explosion that would occur from that thing. Because you'd also still get the tsunamis, by the way.
Yeah, you would.
This is the first paragraph.
The
paragraph, and we have questions.
It's the first two sentences.
Fuck it. Colony drop happened.
Honestly,
Let's
after
move on.
reading that, trust me, like if you can get past that, the next few ones are
Even better.
much more eye raising.
Okay, so Operation British happened.
The Grand Cross.
But it's supercharged public interested space exploration. Well, it would. Let's be fair, it would.
Yeah, but probably
a major
like,
asteroid
people kinda
impact
realize-
would.
If yeah, when all the old people in power realize that no, the world's going to end in their lifetime, not like 3 others, they finally get their asses in paper.
Around the world, new political unions began pouring money into space programs. The result is Grand Cross, an O'Neill cylinder in the Earth-Moon L5 point. He's using Lagrange points.
Yeah, that's actually some hard sci-fi there.
No, it isn't, because they stole it from Gundam.
They stole it from Gundam.
Well, O'Neill cylinders.
More questions.
Look, O'Neill cylinders have been around for how long?
1976, which guess what? Gundam was written 3 years later. This is clearly ripping off from Gundam, so I'm not really that impressed. I'll give credit in that they're actually at least trying to give a shit. I'll give that much credit. But it's pretty clear what they saw was Gundam Thunderbolts with the cybernetic people, you know, the Thunderbolt unit, and said, hey, I can totally just use this for my setting. Also, I forget which Lagrange point L5 is, but there's ones that are a lot more of a pain in the ass to get to. Also, you know what Gundam did to allow you to build the O'Neill cylinders? What they did was they caught near-Earth asteroids, right? And would use them to essentially be staging points for the construction. Because they would just mine it in the asteroid and then just assemble it in space foundries. They actually moved, what was it? I think it was Juno from the asteroid belt. That's why there's a second moon in Gundam.
L5 is just ahead of our orbit.
Okay, that sounds like one of the more complicated ones to enter, though.
Well, trust me, this isn't the part that.
Oh no, I know.
They
It's the fourth paragraph that
this.
made me look up. An alliance of space-based corporations known as the Off-World Cartel has moved in very, very non-subtle.
Oh wait, no. Actually, L5 lies behind. I'm sorry, that's L4 that's ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Either way, it's one of the
please
more
do not
complicated
despise.
ones to set up a colony at, I'd say.
Not really, because the point of the L4 and the L5 is that they are areas which naturally collect space debris anyway, like small asteroids and all that.
That's not good, though, if you're building an open cylinder where micrometeor impacts can smash apart your fucking hull and kill everyone due to decompression.
Yes, well, L1 and L2 are just as concentrated. L4 and L5 are less.
So what you're saying is L3 is the ideal spot.
L3 is also kind of in a weird situation because you're on the opposite end of the sun, so that's actually probably the hardest location to get to.
Fair.
L4 and L5
Rebellion,
are much
baby.
more. L5 and L4 are much more viable. I'd say L1 or L2 are both very viable, but it kind of depends on how many moons you actually have.
I just wonder how many times they're going to have to repair the fucking solar panels.
Quite a lot, but
Oh god, if it's just like constant blackouts because micrometeors bust up the solar panels.
It's not pretty. A lot of people forget about how nasty, because things don't stop accelerating. Something as simple as, oh fuck, you dropped a screw. That can kill someone 2 years later because it's now orbiting at like 50,000 miles an hour and it just rips right through you.
Stop moving.
L4 and L5 have the advantage of actually, when I say that they're easier to build at, is because they naturally allow objects to keep their position.
But yeah,
okay.
the part that, because for record, the apocalypse, or at least the apocalyptic event, happens in 1996, and there's no fucking way that essentially anything space-wise could be done, probably, just due to sheer quantity, until probably at least the early 2000s. So somehow in the span of less than 20 years, all the corporations of the world have already formed the megacorps and essentially are ready to exploit the next generation.
My other problem with that...
Wouldn't they have just been looted in like the anarchy?
It depends, honestly. Like, if anything, Nestle probably has its own death squads ready to go in case of societal collapse.
I don't doubt that they exist, but here's the thing also, some people get Cyberpunk, despite being set in 2020. they branched the timeline off in the beginning of World War II.
Oh, and from Piak, why do only some of our comments come through on your guys' stream? Because I'm a smooth brain and I had it on top chat. For some reason, YouTube really has this. It's almost like the Earthborn elites when it comes to comments. Sorry about that. Dear God, the cylinder. Ah, yes, the O'Neill cylinder. It's been a thing from the 70s. Why is
There's
it
actually,
every kind of cyberpunk TTRPG is some leftist bullcrap?
Because it's punk, you fuck.
No, punk can be anything. It's just most of the time it's written by people because corporations and supporting that thing is usually a right wing or neoliberal point of view. Because of that, there's usually a left wing bias in terms of economy.
Also, in all fairness to punk being apolitical, as someone once, as a quote I once liked to put, which is hilariously an anti-punk quote by me saying it. Two men are sitting in a park, and one of them asks, "What's punk?" One of the men kicks a trash can. He says, "That's punk." The other man kicks the can. He says, "So this is punk?" He says, "No, that's just being a poser."
Yeah, it's obnoxious. Just as obnoxious as the cartel. They sell space exploration as a shared dream they strive for along with everyone else. The true aim is control of Grand Cross and through it the future of space settlement. As their influence spread, so does inequality and crime. You're really telling me that an off-world colony won't already have had that from the government management?
Well, if it's a private company that's already done it, like that's the real danger of space exploration. Honestly,
Problem is, it kind of is, kind of isn't. They're very vague about it. The cartel has convinced the current government to privatize many of the systems that keep Grand Cross running.
What government? What government? The world government?
Yeah. Like
the government.
Like, okay, who built the fucking thing?
The government.
Okay, so now they're just going to let this massive strategic asset go to some fuck in a suit? Like,
this has happened before.
I know. Like, what's stopping from some Frank Armando style guy from getting in the corporation, taking over, and then going, aha, if you don't submit to my demands and make me world emperor, I'm going to start launching panels of this to Earth's surface.
You're joking, but that's kind of what Ford tried to do with Brazil.
Yeah, but it didn't work.
I know. But the difference is, you know what that Armando guy can do? He can just remove the atmosphere. Basically pull I forget the name of the massacre in Zeta Gundam, where they killed like 30 millions with poison gas. Yeah, they did that. The Titans did that. I forget the name of the massacre. But he could just do that, because when you have control over the climate, you just kind of can do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, if they already have massive amount of interest in controlling stock in building this thing, why aren't they in charge?
Because
reasons.
I would say also just because running a government is not usually in the company's best interest. Exploiting one is.
Mm-hmm. And the station's slowly falling apart. Behind the scenes, they even have underhanded schemes running in secret. Oh, you mean like all businesses do? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If the next election favors the cartel, they'll be on their ways to becoming the landlords of.
Oh, you gotta vote for Biden.
Favors?
You gotta
what do you mean?
Biden in the election.
That's definitely not punk. Do you know why? Because a punk setting would have it be everyone's in the pockets, regardless, in some way.
Yeah.
There is no honest candidate. Everyone's on the take.
That's what I don't like about modern works. They don't have that nuance of everyone's kind of a bastard.
Or they do, and then you hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
it's hard. It is hard to get that little thing of cynical, but not so cynical. What's the point?
well, can I interject? It's why one of my favorite video games is probably Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, because it does that. Like, all the factions have good and negative points. Like, even the human hive, who are horrifying totalitarian Maoist fever dreams, do raise some genuine points.
Especially since they're the sole survivors of a failed colony project, so there's no
Yeah.
reinforcements.
Yeah.
That's something
Like,
you have to factor in.
Yeah, when you're out in space, totalitarianism is going to be a very, very appealing thing because literally one fuck up and everyone dies.
Yeah.
Although, conversely, authoritarianism often leads to more fuck-ups happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's-
and
because
some- yeah.
because there's an information deficit. Because the leader is just one person. He doesn't have access to all the information in his country. That has
Also,
to be handled
because
by
if people
deputies.
disagree with him, I'm sorry I'm interjecting, but also if people disagree with him, he'll just get rid of them, even if they're the only people competent that know how to run the thing.
Totalitarian governments are not usually very efficient. They are usually very corrupt.
It is as good as the dictator in charge.
Which is that they
Yep.
usually complete shit.
Yeah. Nihilism is the point of Cyberpunk, I thought. It usually is. So, overview. Hardwired Islands, the tabletop role-playing game about citizens of a space station in an alternate 2020 trying to live their everyday lives while fighting for the station's future. Oh, so I go to the Space Mart and collect my vat-grown eggs?
We're going to the Space Mart and we're having a shootout with the space cops because the space cops want you to pay for, I don't know, air or some shit. And you're like, fuck you. You're the man.
It's about
Like,
people caught up in the schemes of corporations, wealthy technocrats, and their supporters. Some fight to protect their livelihoods. It's the standard anti-gentrification coming from people who are the result of gentrification, by the way, usually.
Yep.
Keep that in mind. If the cartel gets their way, Grand Cross, as you know, will end as unchecked greed bleeds your community dry. I mean, honestly, your setting doesn't seem that kind anyway. You know what worked about UC Gundam when they did this? It was a population control scheme when they built. Well, the first one was not. It was a volunteer system. Then afterwards, to deal with poverty, they shoved all the poor people into space and said, "You deal with it."
that's like the worst way to do space colonization. Though.
Well, if they die, that's fine too. It don't matter. It don't matter.
Just a
Okay.
The
Just-
Earth Federation gets comedically evil when you really put any thought into it.
Like player characters.
It's not
are
even
Russian.
comedically evil. That's just kind of stupid.
I know.
But yeah. Anyway, let's move a bit. Let's move a bit.
Yep,
What do players do? What players do Cyberpunk? Good English.
Oh no, that's supposed to be
Oh.
two different headlines, but they screwed up because of, I forget the term, but their type font and placement.
Poor formatting.
Yeah, bad formatting.
What players do Cyberpunk?
What players do Cyberpunk?
Player characters are residents of the Grand Crossing get caught in the upheaval. Some are straight activists, gig workers, reporters, and more, or pulled in by their occupations and living situations. Others are hackers, bounty hunters, and of less reputable sort. All the way, the regular folk. They pay rent, buy groceries, and hang out with their friends. Between, they go on missions. These missions aim to change the situation, defeat an enemy, or help them in
Was
their
this
community
written by
projects.
the same people who wrote the Saints Row reboot?
Maybe I'm not. This
No,
isn't compelling.
no, Randall. If it was, they would keep talking about being your own boss.
True.
Yeah.
My big problem with this is not compelling in the slightest. This doesn't make me want to punch out space bureaucrats on the colony.
That's even the thing. It's not that this is not compelling. It's that this has been done 1,000 times. So why should I go with this version?
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just the way it's written. It's not really selling me.
Yeah.
Well, then let's see how look at its Hardwired Islands pillared of Cyberpunk. Adam, do you want to read the names? I have my notes for this.
Okay,
But
Cyberpunk's a genre
we
of fiction.
need to go to the. We need. Don't forget. You got to look at all their sources. A lot of works handle Cyberpunk differently. So here are Hardwired Islands pillars.
The pillars of Cyberpunk. Capitalism, no thanks. Good Cyberpunk.
We're gonna shove in our ass leftist hot takes because capitalism bad is the kind of safe rebellion that doesn't really challenge the inverted totalitarian state that we live in.
So good Cyberpunk is anti-capitalist. It's about how technology without ethics can make social inequality worse. The wealthy use it to cement their power and perpetuate the status quo, while marginalized communities struggle with insufficient or oppressive techs. The PCs want to use it to break the current system. Cyberpunk should be relevant.
So insert current year shit into it and pretend that it's artsy. Postmodernism rocks.
Also, by the
No,
way,
that's literally just how any story works. Is that it has to be relevant to the people you're telling it to in some way or shape or form, or nobody cares.
also,
But
this is just
the problem with this is that it's only relevant to about 8% of the population.
but yeah. Also, the thing about capitalism, no thanks. Taking it from the words of Pond Smith himself through the words of his rocker boy, it ain't capitalism that's the problem. It's the people in power and the abuse they lay on us.
Yeah, that's the thing. In Pond Smith's Cyberpunk, he actually does. You can play fucking corpos for God's sake. It's not that
you're a dick.
you hate
Yeah.
people who make money. It's not that you hate capitalism yourself, because at the end of the day, being a criminal, like a fixer or a booster gang member, you're making money. It's just not legal. You're running a business.
You're
legal.
You're a true capitalist. You're a true capitalist because you're not dealing with all those pansy ass government laws.
And on
you're
top
out there
of
on
that,
the street. You're a street cowboy merchant.
I swear to God.
I just want to play Ghost as a cyberpunk character.
But yeah, the whole cyberpunk as a genre, as codified with a lot of things, it's what happens when capitalism is not even capitalism, it's corporations in these big blocks of power weaponize capitalism to turn into essentially feudalism.
Yep. And another thing I've noticed in Cyberpunk is the attempts to squash individualism, and the resistance against
and
that.
Commodify it. No, not just squash, commodify it.
Yeah.
Some settings it's commodify it.
Which ironically, I'd say the authors are kind of guilty of. Because that's all really what the neo-revolutionary aesthetic that's become popular is. It's just commodifying communist counter culture into
the hands of people that actual communists would line up against the wall and execute as enemies of the revolution.
Yeah, it's a way to be edgy without actually threatening the system.
It's criminals.
That's why I fucking hate it.
Basically, you're calling them out for being posers. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You've now gone through the full cycle of punk already.
Yeah, as
well. We're only
you thought that was cringe, but look, it was true.
G.G. Allen was the only real punk.
No, there was no. That's the thing. There has never been an original punk. We are all posers. And that's just the fucking truth of it.
G.G. Allen was just so batshit crazy that he was like the only person who could actually be punk.
I like how this is just the first pillar, by the way.
Well,
we also had relevance.
When your fundamentals are so warped.
Yeah. Cyberpunk should be relevant. Here's the thing.
Yep.
I understand to a degree that it has to be relevant to people. And you can use parallels from events in history, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's the difference between that and dating yourself. And this will very obviously date itself.
Oh, God, yes.
I mean, sci-fi in general kind of does in general to a degree.
Yeah.
Battletech.
But at the end of the day, they still usually have repeating themes that kind of still go beyond that.
Or they capture the mood of an era, right?
Like, well, here's my favorite example always goes to Alien, which I consider one of the best horror movies of all time. At the end of the day, corporate greed still resonates. Even if the computers are the crappy black and green screen ones. Even if it is disgusting 70s design. Like, it still resonates.
I know, Tech, I know you're a leftist and you have problems with theory of mind, but when I shit on communists,
are you fucking serious?
that does not mean I'm carrying water from corpos. I fucking want every goddamn CEO to be marched into the street and strung up on the lampposts.
Oh,
okay.
No.
Okay, we just got demonetized if we ever were gonna make any fucking money from this.
Like there was ever a chance of that.
Oh no, we curse way too much in the first.
We curse way too much.
Revolution, you poser fox.
No, I have a pretty good theory of the mind. What I'm saying here is that the difference that we're talking about with how the whole thing where they're going on and on about capitalism is because honestly, these people have never experienced any other system, right?
Yeah.
That's the entire reason why capitalism is focused on, is because it is, for better or worse, the working system right now. And it has flaws, it has problems, and people talk about them and discuss them and do all that. So this is one way that they're trying to get that across. It's just that it's so fucking ham-handed and awful that it doesn't really work.
And it's also written from the point of view of people who I don't think actually understands the setting in a general. Because
Well,
if you seriously watch a lot of those sci-fi dystopian movies, at the end of the day, you get something a bit different. I get what they're going for. The problem is they're lacking something. They're lacking a detail or two, like critical details. Like they see the flash, but they don't get the underneath.
I'd say a lot of this has to do, and I hate to go on a tangent here, is with that fucking flood of YA dystopia novels in like the early 2010s.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's where a lot of this.
The only thing that can save our world is a girl with 2 personality traits.
The only
Yeah.
thing we can read are books designed for babies.
And
Look, here's the thing: young adult novels and kids books, they're totally fine. But here's the thing.
Or for young adults.
They're for kids. You should probably, if you want,
12-year-old.
diversify your portfolio.
Young adult is a kind way of saying 12-year-old.
See,
Well,
like
teen reader,
corporations,
actually.
you need to diversify your portfolio so that you can get the intellectual capital to squash those lesser than you.
Yeah.
Anyway, cybernetics is not inherently good or bad. Like most tech, what matters is how it's used. In Hardwired Iron, the problem is cybernetics often serve the need of capital rather than people. Any alienating or dysphoric effects come from being reshaped into some No.
AKA
No.
no. I have the translation. We want the fancy gadgets and tech without having to have existential thoughts about what is and isn't alive, or where the separation between man and machine ends. That's what we drown those thoughts in dopamine.
You're kind of right, but this is
they were on the right track at first, then they went in a fucking nosedive.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
like
Yeah.
here's the thing: if you have like semi-realistic prosthetics, it still doesn't matter. There's like we've seen cases of this. People who lose limbs, they still feel affected by that, even with pretty realistic-looking ones.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right, and the fact they don't get that. Pondsmith understood it when he came up with why cybernetics removes empathy. On top of that, you also kind of remove yourself from, well, not normal humanity because everyone's doing it, but you remove yourself further and further from what you are.
Where you started.
Yeah, like you've seen it with plastic surgery addicts where they constantly try to rework their image, but they're still miserable. In fact, it usually gets worse.
It's dysphoria, basically.
And they don't get that. They don't get that just because you get genetically resculpted into your ideal form. You still aren't dealing with the mental reasonings that led you to think this will fix it. Like, oh, I'm in pain and my legs hurt, so I'm gonna remove them and get robo legs. Yeah, it'll remove the pain, but then you'll kind of always feel a little bit weirded out because you got robo legs.
Yeah. And sometimes you feel pain even though you shouldn't, because your neural pathways are still firing.
From IMSIT. Again, Eclipse Phase does it better by exploring the implications of capitalism and Yeah, it does.
Yeah, Eclipse Phase, genuinely, we should be doing Eclipse Phase instead of this. It's a good book.
We should be doing Fatal instead of this.
No, we're not doing Fatal again. We're not touching that again.
The only problem is I still have to release an episode 50 before I have to release it. Or save it for Valentine's Day. Either or.
Right.
Yes, Fatal, a book well known for its romantic undertones.
Yeah, exactly. Cyberpunk is not just an aesthetic. The core concept is cool, not cool future. It shouldn't just be about neon-lit adventures or some trenchcoat futurists as they climb their way into wealth and power. Hardwired Ireland is about a group of marginalized people using technology to try to change the status quo.
You can't separate aesthetic from politics. Everything has to be political. The eternal war, cultural war must go on.
My big problem with that is some of the most fun characters to play in a cyberpunk setting is fuck you got mine.
Yeah.
Where you just play a selfish bastard.
That's the archetypical, mercenary private eye character from these stories.
Yeah.
Ones who are dragged in to the big things, but don't
Sometimes
initially care.
Yeah, sometimes they have a heart. Sometimes they just fucking don't. See, this is why I don't think they actually understand. Like, they've clearly cribbed and paid attention, but well, not paid attention. They've clearly cribbed and watched, but I don't think they internalized the lessons. It's like a parrot. You know how some parrots will like mimic noises without really understanding, but they know it gets an effect from say their owner.
Yeah.
It's like that.
See, I have two theories about this work, but let's keep going.
I'd say it's more like they've got an idea, right? They've got an idea of what they want to do, and they are trying to hammer it into Cyberpunk because it's similar enough to what they want to do that they think it's a natural fit, but it really isn't. This sounds more like a sci-fi thing than a Cyberpunk thing.
So what you're saying is they are too obsessed with the message to actually write a
No, not at all. I think what they're trying to do is that they're trying to crib something that they think is neat, which is cyberpunk, into a sci-fi setting instead of letting it organically grow into a cyberpunk setting.
I mean, cyberpunk settings are sci-fi, so
yes, but you know what I mean, like the way
like
it develops.
Cyberpunk is usually defined by the clash between between what we consider the modern and the weird cyber future, while sci-fi is usually usually pretty far removed. And since we're on fucking space stations at this point,
I mean, you can do space stations.
We're living on the Citadel.
Don't get me wrong.
The people are literally living on the Citadel.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Commander Cyberpunk, and this is my favorite Mohawk store on the Citadel.
Oh, since they use the term hacker, I'm just envisioning a future where Shodan from Trioptimum doesn't kill everyone on the space station.
All I'm imagining is like there's this fantastic like idea that someone had once where it's like, so what is an AI going to do on like one of these space stations? And the idea is that some of these AI are basically just there to monitor people, and that's their entire job, and they just kind of enjoy it because they just watch people because it's like a gigantic, it's like a kid looking at an ant farm.
God, that's creepy.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Another fun one would be an AI that monitors climate control, and because of that, when they think it goes rogue, no, it turns out it's because several oxygen scrubbers have failed, and its solution to preventing the mass wipeout of people on the station is to lock up and space based on
these affected areas. Yeah.
These affected areas. And
also probably like role in society. Like, okay, the homeless are expendable.
Homeless are expendable. People who breathe a lot and fast. So the sick.
Oh God, I'm just imagining this gym of Chads, just this ultimate the ultimate Chad gym.
Vented into space because they're breathing too hard.
Because their gains are too enormous for the station to manage.
Well, no, it's like they're suffering an oxygen leak.
It shuts down the gym because there is heavy breathing, so there must be sick people. Or because it's an AI and doesn't really get what a gym is.
Or it might understand the concept of a gym, but it's never been informed that this is typical human parameters for heavy exercise in high gravity environments.
Yeah.
Which is what that gym is doing.
It's just monitoring CO2 levels, and because there's venting problems, that they just the CO2 levels are too high, venting the
vent the atmosphere. It's literally an error code that causes like a massive destruction event. Yeah. Like that's both cyberpunk as fuck and sci-fi as fuck.
And the best part is it's not the AI's fault, it's the parameters installed in it.
Honestly, I kind of want a cyberpunk setting where the authorities are evil, but they're more just incompetent.
That's just paranoia.
Paranoia is one of the best for that. Because
it's the friend computer is your friend. The friend computer also created the Wobblies because it heard about the Wobblies once and says that therefore there must be the Wobblies to destroy. So it created its own It created its own opposition group so that it could fight it.
Well, that's even better. They kept sending troubleshooters, and then when they couldn't find evidence of them existing at all in Alpha Central, killed them because they're clearly working with them until finally a group of them figure out, look, they don't exist. Let's just make the group and just fake evidence of it.
And then it becomes a real thing. Yeah, that's one of those fun things about like Paranoia. Is that Paranoia is such a stupid game in so many ways, but it's also incredibly clever.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because the reason the friend computer keeps changing opinions is the only people that are trusted to program it are the high programmers, those who have essentially greased their way up the disgusting, slimy, backstabbing pole, where you're not actually rewarded for competence, you're rewarded for loyalty. And these people, because they can do whatever they want, they can reprogram friend computer to do whatever they want. And that's been happening for decades. Hence why friend computer, while friendly and originally actually designed to help you, is absolutely insane.
Yeah. It's literally like a piece of legacy code that nobody's bothered to keep the notes on.
It's in a file somewhere with tag "Beware the Leopard." You know, like a filing cabinet in the basement of some just dilapidated nuked office building. Now we're way off track, but let's get back to
many perspectives.
And now they're
talking about good games.
They're gonna get pretentious post Cyberpunk.
Oh no! Oh, you forgot many perspectives.
Yeah, good
As long
Cyberpunk.
as there's ours.
Examines how technology and power intersect in many different communities, especially marginalized ones. If you're rich enough to get into space, you're not marginalized. Go fuck yourself. Unless you're ripping off Gundam again and they're just shoving the pores onto
They're shoving the indentured servants like, congratulations, you work for the Hypercorp now. The Hypercorp is now sending you to space because fuck you.
That could actually be hilarious.
Hope you like no job opportunities for the rest of your life because
you have to work for the corporation and only the corporation because the corporation put you in space.
I'm just envisioning the equivalent of a T tribe being forcibly stolen out of their home tribal regions in India, just shoved onto the fucking colony.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing I'm thinking that they're trying to say that they want to show and share is something like that, but they can't fucking do it because they're incompetent.
Well, also they don't have a sense of humor about themselves. They can't laugh at it. Like think about it. A T tribe where it's this advanced, O'Neill cylinder with modern Ultralux, and then you have like a literal rural village like copied from the backwoods of India where they're just farming tea for this disgusting conglomerate that basically
they want to make an organic space tea, and that is fucking terrifying. That's the thing. Like, if you look at this from a horror perspective, this is absolutely fucked. Like that is the most terrifying experience you can imagine. Is
like just drones constantly over the tea fields.
Yes,
laser any non-compliant employees.
Your productivity levels have dipped below bronze star. Ergo, we must terminate your work papers. Lights them on fire with lasers.
Yeah,
and then just to rub salt in the wounds, like busloads of the rich yuppies and whatever's that consume the tea drive by and they're like,
it's such a quaint village.
We've uplifted these. It's like a fucking Potemkin village.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And for those of you who think that this isn't something that happens, there was an exhibit in New York. I need to. This is a weird history bit where they took people out of the Congo and they put them in a zoo in New York.
The Germans were really guilty of loving this exhibit, by the way. They did it throughout their entire empire.
Tech, I thought you were going to reference the time that the Belgians did that first.
Oh yeah, the Germans fell in love with that, so that's why
the Belgians also did it. Like almost every colonial power did some fucked up shit like this.
It's just the Germans and Belgians really liked showing off their people zoos.
Yeah, the Germans
and Russians
did
too.
The Russians of course did. They abducted a bunch of dwarves once just because they could. Kind of.
They could.
Like
they also once kidnapped a bunch of North Africans and literally they were indentured servants to the Tsar because the Tsar always had to be attended to by Moors. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, there's like people that go, "Oh, the communists, like there was no justification for the revolution or what." No, there was so much fucking justification. The
yeah.
shit the czars pulled. Oh my god.
The difference is then you had what the communists did, and you kind of go, you know what? I kind of missed the
They're
crazy
about as
asshole in the
bad.
crown.
They're about as bad. The main difference is that at the very least, the communists pay lip service.
Yeah.
That's their only advantage. They pay lip service to the ideas of, democracy and human advancement and all this sort of shit. The czars didn't even bother fucking pretending.
Yeah.
Mr. Welch mad musing on paranoia's fantastic intro.
Yeah.
Lunk alarm klaxons blaring as they get vented into space.
It's linked to the lunk alarm. It's a Planet Fitness. Oh god, it's Space Planet Fitness. Oh fuck.
Couldn't they just launch from Frugal? Like, couldn't they just launch the pores into the nearest black hole or something? Well, no. The thing is, you can get product out of them before you burn them apart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and the other thing is that this sort of forced relocation by corporations has happened before.
That's
Yeah.
how
Like-
the Tea tribes of India were formed.
Yes. So people that go, this isn't realistic, this can't happen in the future. Look at the British East India Company. If you want like a horrifying cyberpunk entity, this is something that happened before we had steam engines.
Also, don't forget corrupting the caste system, which was already terrible, by the way. They just made
Yep.
it worse.
They made it more rigid because it was easier to control people and organize people by role.
Anyway, post-cyberpunk. Post-cyberpunk is a related genre with a slightly more positive, realistic approach. No, it's just sci-fi. It's just generic
It's a
sci-fi.
TV trope. No,
It's-
no, it has a TV tropes thing, so it's a thing.
No, post-cyberpunk is more like, okay, so the cyberpunk revolution bullshit has happened. What's the actual effects of that? Like, that's the idea of post-cyberpunk in a nutshell. It's kind of more like, okay, so what actually happens when everyone has the implants, when everybody's got all this bullshit? You could argue that 2077 is post-cyberpunk.
Yeah, I would say so.
No, I'd say it was the weird kind of third edition of Cyberpunk that never really got off the ground.
Oh,
Is-
that
is
one?
closer to that. Yeah, that's
mean,
been on.
you could
That's
also
been
say
all
that,
but
yeah.
retcon. That's all been a retcon because it never caught on.
I mean,
Imagine the Chinese section versus NATO section of the O'Neill cylinder. That would be amazing. Like if this
it would be fucking nuts.
if
Yeah.
Grand Cross was like a World Expo where all citizens were like just randomly shoved in, that'd be amazing. Sorry about that.
One of the but yeah, like again, they know the words, they have the basic concept of it, but it's like watching a fifth grader try to create the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Is the feeling I'm getting. It's like,
I
yeah,
wouldn't
he's got the
even
crayons and the
say-
paints and all that shit, but it's like,
I-
it ain't working, Chief.
You're giving too much credit. I'm getting more of the sense of like a fat, sweaty anime nerd trying to make the Mona Lisa. Using
No,
his
'cause
own
if-
feces and smearing it on his dead mother's balls. Because he murdered her and locked her in the fridge.
I was thinking more a parakeet trying to quote quote Polonius's brevity is the soul of wit speech. Like a parakeet, it has no fucking clue what it's saying. It's just like it
Well, that's the
just
same thing with, like,
repeats words randomly, doesn't understand what's going on.
that's just most children though.
Yeah?
That's what
Like,
I think.
yeah.
Like parakeet.
Like, because again, let's just keep going because we're only we're only on
We're
cover 3.
8 pages, we're 9 pages in and it's been an hour.
I love this book.
We don't want to
already.
read it. We don't want to
Oh
read it.
my
No,
That's why
I
we're
actually
talking like
I
this.
love this book. It's so dense. Every single paragraph is packed with garbage.
Yeah?
So other themes, an unknown future.
Memories save us. Memories save us.
The people of Grand Cross walk an uncertain road. Their orbital home is a technological wonder only possible in the distant future of 2020.
Really
funny.
hating this.
Okay, I'll give him that. That's kind of funny.
But yeah.
But it's not
That's-
on purpose.
That's written. That is 100% written tongue in cheek. That is 100% tongue in cheek.
I don't think they have the sense of humor for that. Personally, but it's still funny.
I mean, that's kind of the thing of like a lot of these is that it's like, yeah, no, that is a kind of a tongue in cheek because this was written in 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, then that's definitely a tongue-in-cheek joke there.
The criminal who thought they'd done their last job is about to be pulled back in. The cop days from retirement's about to be brought up on old hate crime charges. The veteran down on his luck could get the opportunity of a lifetime next week. Nothing is certain in Grand Cross. The moment you get complacent is the moment the city gets you. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, that's tongue. I told you.
No, it's like, oh Lord, they're doing all the terrible noir stereotypes, like just when I'm about to
Cliches.
Ugh.
The cliches, yeah.
And
He's
we're
just 2
doing
days
it
away before retirement.
ironically. We're doing
It was
it
2 days away before that time.
ironically.
Before that time, 30 years ago,
Isn't
where I
Isn't
beat that kid up.
Isn't it 2 days before retirement line from fucking RoboCop?
I think it might have been.
Where they're like, yeah, he's
I
just 2 days before
genuinely
retirement.
have no clue where 2 days from retirement came from.
It's Grand
doesn't
Cross's
matter.
Earth gateway to the stars. Everyone interested in space settlement has a present here. Therefore, whoever controls Grand Cross could control the future. Behind the scenes on a scale grander than most people, including the writers, can comprehend. War is on the soul for the soul of humanity.
Whoa, wow, now we've ramped the fucking stakes up here, game. Like, holy fuck.
Well, they tried.
Like before, I was like, let's go. We're stuck in an O'Neill cylinder around L5, and it's going to shit, and we need to figure out a way to either kick the corpos off and declare space Cargonia, or
I can't wait until we actually get into the O'Neill cylinders design, because this is going to be so.
Is it
full
not
of
an
shit.
O'Neill? Is it not an actual O'Neill?
It's an O'Neill cylinder, but there's no native industries to actually serve as a staging point for Earth for space colonization.
Then why is it okay? Just because I can understand this being if this
space
is just
economies
like a proof
make
of
no
concept.
sense.
Yeah, if this is a proof of concept station, I can understand that.
It's not.
But it's not.
It's
this
clearly
is meant
not.
to be. Ugh.
There's
God.
no asteroid
the final
mining
bastion
complex.
of humanity.
There's no
This
rocket.
is
You really couldn't have an asteroid mining complex around an L5 or
Also,
L4 point
I
very
just realized
effectively.
something. I just realized something in regards to essentially the kind of wealth. Isn't this just space rapture?
Yeah?
That's like every fucking colony though in space ever. Is the whole thing with Raptors is literally a space station shoved under the ocean.
Yeah, but you know, back when quote unquote colonies originally existed, the rich people weren't dying to leave their established power bases to go there. That's why people who wanted opportunity went there.
You'd actually be surprised how many very rich people just went there because they want to get more rich.
Yeah, but that was not the majority.
True.
So yeah, it's super critical.
Look at France. I mean, look at France and their colonies.
It's super critical, but the problem is, we'll get into it. We just have to get there. It's gonna be fine. Retrofuture. If sci-fi is a vision of the future, retrofuture is remembering the visions of the past.
Oh god, no, not Victoria. Please, not Victoria again.
A lot of 90s
Neo
sci-fi was set around.
Evangelion.
Oh,
No,
screw
when I hear-
you. If you're going to include that, you're going to have to include Ra Zemphon as well, because it's the counterpoint to Evangelion. Where one was nihilistic and whiny, the other one actually had spirits of hope in it.
I'm sorry, but when I hear retrofuturism, all I can think of is that fucking Bill Lynn book. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Let's not get into that. Cowboy Bebop had a space disaster happen in 2021.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Huh. I've never actually seen Cowboy Bebop.
It's
Aside
pretty
from
good.
the drug episode.
Anyway, takes inspiration from 90s sci-fi, particularly anime.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Here
we go.
Sweaty otaku.
Okay.
We have smartphones and really small computers and gaming consoles, but also sublight space travel and orbital habits.
Of course we have sublight. All space travel right now is sublight, for fuck's sake.
Also, yeah, we have made very crude orbital habitats. That's what space stations are. It's this is on a grander scale. We actually put
this on a grander scale and placed around an L5 point, so it doesn't have to maintain its a thruster on, say, the Earth or whatever else. So that you don't have to worry as much about a decaying orbit.
Also, getting smashed to shit by micro impacts.
You have to worry a lot less about that around an L5 than you think.
By the way, this is just
large
one of
area.
this is just sort of a look at the four This is the four inspirations they list.
Oh Christ! Oh, go fuck yourselves.
Bubblegum Crisis. Hey, Bubblegum Crisis is fair. It's its own thing.
It's fine, but
no. That's the only tabletop RPG they note as their inspiration.
Yeah. You know what? I'm
The
also.
Bubblegum Crisis one is the
Okay.
only one that they notice their inspiration.
I'm just shrugging my fucking hands because notice it's all goddamn anime. There's no
Well,
Total
no,
Recall, so you can
one of
have
them.
it. There's
No, one of them's worse. One of them's a
Treasure.
visual novel.
Which visual novel?
Police Knots by
Police
Kojima.
Knots.
I know what that is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Police Knots is good, but like the sources they're using are fine. They're perfectly good series. My problem
It's
is
what they're not listing.
Yes, it's solely anime stuff.
I mean,
Yeah, that's fine, and that's fine, and that would be fine if it wasn't so blamed from a lot of things that they think that they were inspired by a lot of else, and they're just not mentioning that.
yeah, Gundam.
And also, they're clearly trying to rip from
Mass
Cyberpunk
Effect.
2020.
Mass
Effect.
Mass Effect.
Cyberpunk.
That's my big
God.
problem. They don't list those because it's fair to acknowledge that. But they're not doing it. They're actually trying to pretend they're an anime, which you saw the fucking cover. No, it goddamn isn't.
The closest thing to
Okay.
anime was the Robo Ninja, but Cyberpunk was doing that before that, and the girl with the cat hair hoodies.
Time out on the art direction, because I want to know if this art direction is a fucking bitch for any company, any designer. You can ask someone something, and they can give you something completely different from what you want, and you just have to say "fuck it" and run with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So-
You know what
through the
Robotic Age
timeline.
was able to pull off, though? Anime art style.
That's true.
Generic, and it looked like it was drawn from a fucking guy on Fiverr for $2, but guess what these assholes could have done if they really wanted to sell up the anime aspect, which they clearly are.
Hire an anime artist.
Yes.
Hire some Japanese person that barely speaks English on Twitter.
Yeah,
that normally draws
just go to
tits.
Pixiv.
Just go
Just go to
for it.
fucking Pixiv. In order commissions.
No. You have to understand that these people don't know about Pixiv, most likely.
Imsit. Wait, they're based off of 90s sci-fi, but no space station shows like Deep Space Nine or Babylon 5? Of course not. They don't actually watch real sci-fi.
Well,
Other
I'm
than
gonna
anime.
hesitate. I'm gonna hesitate to call Star Trek Deep Space Nine sci-fi, but that's just me. That's
It's based on the other ones, which are. So.
It is, but like
Look, it's more of a Western, I get it, but whatever.
yeah.
Hey, let's go to the timeline. 1996.
Oh boy, world building. Let's make fun of this.
Impact 2.
Is this just
Fuck you.
Fuck's sake, I just realized too, this is also ripping off the time in Ace Combat where like asteroids hit the Earth, and that's why there's the super planes and shit.
I mean, technically, it's also ripping off Advanced Wars Days of Future or something.
Advanced Wars
also
Days of Ruin.
Evangelion with fucking.
Can we just-
Impact
It's a very common thing. Let's not
Second
get into that. But
Impact, yeah.
accelerationism.
No, I need to
Oh,
make
no.
fun of this because they're literally using the exact plot from Evangelion. Because first Impact. Oh wait, no, it wasn't the one that killed the dinosaurs. I think that was when the moon was formed.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
that one's
the
fair.
second.
Okay.
Still bullshit.
Because Second
though.
Impact is like the something else. Like
Yeah, what
whatever.
happens is they find an alien in the Antarctic and they activate it accidentally.
Anyway,
and then everyone turns into Tang in the end.
1996 to 2000.
So the Impact
The
supercharged public. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, the Impact supercharged public interest in space exploration. An Earthbound humanity could be wiped out by. Just call it Third Impact, you fucking assholes. We know what you're doing, and that's not cute. It's not cute. But a humanity spread out, that's what I hate. Like, it's very clear. Like,
Wait a minute, I just read something quick.
It's
Why would
declining.
environmental reform matter if everyone's planning to abandon Earth?
Because they
just-
ripped off Gundam, and there was a big movement called Consoom founded by Zeonzum Daikun, which claimed that since Earth was the cradle of humanity, it had to be tended to because of all the damage done by World War III and later on the wars that happened in UC. That's what they're fucking
how much
ripping
of a
off,
push
and
they're
they can
making
go
towards
screw
space?
themselves.
Like, if how much of the
Or-
push they're making towards space travel, it kind of makes it seem like humanity thinks that the future of Earth is on a ticking time bomb. What's the point of repairing the environment at this point?
To try to salvage as much time as you can out of the Earth before you have to fucking leave.
They're not thinking that hard. They're clearly ripping off Consolism from Gundam.
Because like that's sort of the eclipse phase thing that happened. They just literally were like, well, Earth's
They
pretty
might be
fucked,
ripping
we
that
need to
off
get as
too.
much
I'm
as we
just
can.
pointing
Yeah.
out that.
Mhm. As recovery efforts begin to bear fruit, the programs accelerate. Everyone handles it differently.
Okay, do we have any examples of how it's handled differently?
The European Union bolsters its ranks with new members eager to join its burgeoning solar energy program. The
What?
African Union,
What?
untouched by Impact 2, has begun to launch lunar missions.
I like how the
Oh.
United Africa just forms spontaneously.
I can.
No, the
Okay,
African Union's
I
a
can.
thing. The African Union's a
Yeah,
thing.
the African Union is a thing.
Yeah.
I can also see the East African, because there's potential formation of an East African state, kind of like a mega state almost. Like it would have like a huge population and everything, and it would be actually perfectly situated to launch space missions from.
My problem with this tech is their GDP and income.
Their GDP and income is a problem, yes, but
Yes,
theoretically
so much-
speaking,
so many
if
people
they're
spread out.
suddenly, but suddenly, like let's say that a lot of other areas got hit pretty hard and they're relatively untouched, that's everyone's going to flood in there for everything.
Which would crash their GDP even more if the refugee crisis causes mass death.
Possibly, but
No,
what I mean
not
more by that is
possible.
like
they
when it comes
barely
for
struggle to fucking feed themselves, dude.
when I'm saying industrialization would basically have to be supercharged there.
Okay, a
as a
crash
result.
programming that kills millions. Got it.
Yeah. Well, it's still
1999, the
happened.
space rush is.
I'm sorry,
is
dude.
brilliant.
It just doesn't work in the short time span.
I mean, yeah, it would suck, but they could do it. Is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's
Especially,
possible.
I mean, a way. If I really had to think, is essentially those with capital believe that essentially due to this, Africa is much more open for the table. So essentially, they invest heavily and get a lot of influence, and may or may
It
not.
takes years to build up the infrastructure. It takes years to develop a large
Yep.
enough space. I'm
I was
sorry.
saying, well, that was the closest thing. That's the closest thing. Anyway, the Lagrange Treaty.
Oh god. Damn
Oh
it.
boy, are we going back to the Moon Treaty?
We might. We'll see.
Lunar blah blah blah. It's decided whose job is it to clear debris. The UN is reorganized and creates the Lagrange Treaty. It sets the standards that every country serious about space exploration needs to follow. Resources set aside for construction of common use space transportation and solar energy, prohibition of orbital weapons and other military constructions, etc.
This is based partially on the Antarctic Treaty, but I'm not gonna shit on it too badly since if you're going to seriously do this in space, this is stuff that you would need to set up. So I'm not.
Its greatest long-term effects come in two provisions. The first pushes that address gendered and other diversity gaps in tech.
What?
The Africans don't give a shit. The Africans literally bury their gays after shooting them. They won't care. The Asians
Chinese
don't care.
The Chinese definitely
Only
don't
the
care.
West remotely fucking cares.
I mean, I think they'd be willing to, bite on letting women in the workforce, but
They would, but that's about as far as you can go. Also, from IMSA, and climate change could be an impact. Yeah. That's the other reason I disagree with Africa being able to pull that off, because if you have an impact that bad, you're dealing with a worldwide winter.
Mm-hmm.
Africa will fucking starve. Everyone will fucking starve. I understand this would speed up everything since you're shoving a lot of GDP into it. But
introverted,
at the same time,
what like this? Introverted white man alone cannot feed the space machine.
Of course.
They're known as the Lovelace laws.
Wait,
Also-
if people are so desperate for talent, wouldn't that just make them, make all that shit irrelevant?
yeah, and on top of
Why would
that,
they not? Why would they need? Would they need laws to do that, or is this just? No, this is just like realistically, this would just be, give outs to politicians' friends.
Also, Ada Lovelace, which is who they're ripping off of to try to pretend that they care about women, she pulled an Isaac Newton near the end of her life, and that's why her career kind of essentially died as it did.
Yep.
Anyway, I like this. Every country has its own take, then it has a little one you have to go down. We're not going to pretend we have a perfect grasp on social sciences, and we're sticking to the broad strokes. Who did what is up to you. So, you
care.
world build.
Okay, you didn't care.
You world build.
That's an excellent sign of how much you fucking care.
The second provision of the treaty is the Grand Cross program. Though several crewed space stations existed in the 2000s, there were no major settlements. This would create one. It would be under the combined effort of the United Nations and capable United Nations nations.
Oh fuck.
The term is United Nation member state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
They didn't even do that.
nation, a UN nation is a.
They just didn't care.
There is
Everyone-
zero excuse for that in a world where Wikipedia exists.
Yeah, like it's the UN stands for United Nations, so a United Nation.
It'd be a United
Well,
Nation member, or you
we're-
could say the UNSC, the United Nations Security Council.
We're
Which
not
is
going to
so-
pretend we have a perfect grasp of social science. Who did
Well, they
what's up
don't
to
have
you?
a fucking. They don't
Who
even have
did
a fucking.
what is up to you? Fuck
They don't
you.
even have.
I'm
They don't
not
even have a
gonna
fucking.
talk.
So in my alternate reality, Russia is the beacon of liberty and social liberalism.
That'd be
while-
hilarious.
Is this the world where Yeltsin won?
No, this is the world where Yeltsin got shot.
No, this is the one where Putin lost to the communists.
Oh God!
Oh yeah, and we have fully automated luxury
Luxury
space
space
communism.
communism. Here we go, boys.
The new
Well,
oh hail the new Soviets.
No, they're postadists. Because we're already in nuclear
yes.
winter.
Yes.
We
They
need
staged
nuclear
the asteroid.
orthodoxy.
The fucking posted. It's not actually an asteroid. It was the
They just
posters
collected. They just
nuked
collected.
Siberia. They just nuked Siberia, pretended it was an asteroid, and got us into space. Base space postadists here.
All right,
Neo-postadism for the win. Are we also bringing the dolphins to the O'Neill cylinders? That's my main question.
I mean, I would have. I just also realized just as something because I note it's said about the most affected nations were the first ones that were able to get first place there. I could actually see something decent because we kind of have something like this where environmental, damage is essentially destroying a lot of those, micro islands and stuff like that in the Pacific.
Yeah, that'd be a way
I
to
can
save them all.
unironically imagine some of the first people, I guess, for the humanitarian crisis would be people from those places.
Yeah.
Who they literally their land is gone.
They also work as the slave caste to build it all.
Yeah, it's like literally,
Well,
congratulations.
That's not. They're not advertising that part, but yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. You get to build the future. You never get to leave.
I'm just
Welcome to the
envisioning the
future. You didn't
entire
ask for it.
population of the Maldives. By the way, an O'Neill cylinder. The whole point is you're supposed to be able to shove more and more into them into a Lagrange thing.
Yeah.
Space
By
tube.
2005, people were living on the moon. Conditions are harsh, but that wasn't important. What mattered was they were there. Most of the early settlers were trained astronauts or lottery winners.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that.
The heroic and sometimes tragic efforts provided important insights into living into space.
Oh God, they accidentally killed all the G tribes they sent out first.
Yeah. Rip the population of the Maldives, Tuvalu, and Fiji.
I'm really disappointed by Fiji. There were some really good cannibals there.
Earth
guess
Moon
what?
L5.
On their last painful days building the moon bases, that's what they returned.
Oh,
They returned to their ancestors.
That's why they sent them up first, so that they didn't know how to eat.
No. I need to put this because I hate this because it's just how it's put. Earth Moon L5 that you just roll down. The L4 point does this too, of course, but 5 is a better number.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
You did
I mean,
that didn't need to be there, and it just subtracted value from this page.
The thing about
It's working. It's working.
The thing about the L5 point, right? The thing about that is that is the one where there's a fucking political movement about it in the 80s, where there was a bunch of nerds who wanted to make the United States build an actual fucking O'Neill cylinder out in space. I'm dead fucking serious here.
Do you think they knew that?
I actually know about that. Yeah.
Do you think they did? I don't think they did.
Could you link me?
I
that?
feel they probably saw the
hold on.
Wikipedia article.
I
Yeah.
don't think they did that.
Anyway,
They're the ones that came up with the song "Home, Home on Lagrange." You know the.
Anyway,
that makes sense.
full-scale construction was beset with accidents that took their toll, and it took longer than expected. Building, how long did it people think it would take to build a space station that could house hundreds of thousands of people?
Actually, up to millions if done right.
Yeah, I know. Like what? 10 years? That sounds remarkably short for what that is.
Yeah. A lot of cut
Especially
corners.
since it's the first try.
Also,
Why do you think they sent all the pores there first?
Why do you think they sent the Fijians to starve to death up there?
The first wave of immigration were mostly workers, researchers, and their families, along with some lottery winners and the wealthy elite who wanted to get on the ground floor.
Okay,
It
I can
started
actually
to-
see
And
that.
some, by coincidence, were both.
But
Of course.
also the lunar processing, that's them ripping off the Von Braun city, the city of Von Braun, and I forget the other, and New Granada from Gundam. They were
Anyway,
used
by
as they were
2010
used as staging points to build aluminum lattice work.
by 2010, some nations were actually starting to recover. Their economy was looking good. People were promising, let's focus, and essentially all that focus on space kind of started dying.
We must go to the one place not corrupted by capitalism. Space.
Grand Cross was run by an interim council that was represented by the backers and overseen by the UN.
Who were the backers? Was it just the council? Was it just the standard council, the big council members?
Yeah, overseen by a UN committee.
Well, it wasn't just the same
Security Council.
Yeah, the Security Council.
US and
Backers,
China.
probably some NGOs, maybe some companies, etc. And probably political movements. Many backers began to demand perks, though they were eventually willing to settle for nothing. For nobody else getting anything, but for no one else getting anything. Some, US and China, tried to get people to resign from the council.
Oh, also, just to highlight, their economy is probably more fake than normal because it's just held up by all the construction.
Some of the
Now the
political maneuvers
construction
were caused by corporations. They were largely locked out of the program or forced to comply with agreements so restrictive they could hardly skim the program funds at all. They lobbied their governments for help, offered increased space contributions and party donations in exchange for preferential treatment. A few succeeded. I mean, stuff like that. I could believe that. I could believe that.
Space tends to be centrally commanded by national administrations.
And by necessity, it's incredibly expensive. It's incredibly technically demanding.
I could imagine. I mean, at most, I could imagine essentially McDonald's like shoving enough lobbying that they get to be the quote unquote junk food vendor for one section of
pal,
the space station.
Our chicken nuggets are literally processed chicken pulp. It'll keep just fine up there. You can just reheat them in the microwave.
But yeah, and like we want for this portion of the thing, we want exclusive rights.
We gave the workers chicken nuggets and fucking whatever we call our milkshakes. Therefore, we should have the ability to open up locations subsidized temporarily.
So it's a McDonald's treaty port.
A McDonald's treaty port would be hilarious.
In off-world dealings, off-world corporation. Like, from that term, then places already corporations beginning in space.
Yeah, they just magically were able to set up the capital.
Like, just because that's not clear. Is that corporations that have that are moving off-world, that have interests off-world, or
no? They just were off-world. They were off-world. They were living on the moon.
I'm assuming what they mean is that they're like organizations that are founded to exploit off-world resources.
No, they're not. They don't specify.
Nope.
One of those little dots things to clarify would have been nice, but they didn't have that here.
Grand Cross can't simply become a late-stage ANCAP corporate hellhole without some serious palm greasing of the competing country interests.
Oh yeah, no, a megacorp can't arise without the government just looking away.
Yeah.
Anyway,
these McTreaty, a McTreaty.
Off-world corporations form their little cabals. This alliance, an evil twin of the Lagrange Treaty, is known as the Off-World Cartel.
They're the bad guys.
Grand Cross finished in 2013.
Government good.
It became its own independent UN member.
What?
They decided to make it independent because they ripped off Gundam Unicorn!
What?
It's also a parliament. It's an elected parliament.
No, I'm not kidding. There was in Gundam Unicorn. Screw it, spoilers. But if you haven't watched it, screw yourselves. It's been out for decades, for at least a decade. That's the entire plot of why. That's the entire plot of why the Earth Federation is trying to hide a treaty, because the original treaty that set up all the sides in the UC timeline, when new types began to be formed, like when they began appearing, that's the point where they should have become independent. Because the original treaty was written by a psychotic space hippie who formed the proto-Continentalist movement. Where, you gotta leave Earth for space.
Anyway, here's the apparent funny thing.
But yeah, it's independent.
Apparently after the launching of the station, humanity as a whole just kind of lost interest in it and instead moved on to Mars.
I mean, that actually tracks.
Kind of yes, but also no.
I mean, dude, within 3 years, apparently no government has any interest in the program anymore.
On top of that, the fact that they gave it up at all.
All right. devil's advocate for 5 seconds here. There's an L grade. There's L5 point
Your
where
5
you're
seconds are
basically
up.
stuck. Yeah, you're basically stuck. You can't expand as fast. Mars colony, theoretically, you can expand that faster.
Well, the funny thing you mentioned the L's because the next thing is in 2017, the Grand Cross held its first election. It was won by the Unity Party on the platform of opening space to all. Once they achieved, they turned tax incentives and privatized services for the off-world cartel. Local opposition kept them from going as far as they wanted, and they were quick to blame the opposition when everything started to go wrong. In 2019, the habitat at the L4 point was destroyed due to a critical failure. The area known as the Sugarhulf it was apparently led by the Scandinavians because look at that fucking name.
Yeah.
Partially habitat built for the EU by a member of the off-world hotel. This became the L4 disaster. The disaster's severity had a chilling effect, but since too much had been invested into space settlement, work simply continued at a slower, more cautious pace.
I like how they don't specify the disaster.
A critical failure.
Yeah, just a critical failure. No, I know what failed. Other.
Oh, fuck you.
Others.
Many L4 refugees moved to Grand Cross. Unity couldn't properly house them. So, so this is where the slums come from, all the pores.
So here's the other problem if you're going to do space and habitation. Refugee crises don't really work because of the fact that these things are designed with a certain population cap in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I imagine they didn't fill up completely because they probably imagined some things might change. You know, like you don't fill the ship up to max capacity. You leave a little space.
Kinda, yeah, but also kinda nah, because then again, they kind of just instantly have them focus on Mars without actually building the infrastructure around the area to help with that.
Yeah, the closest thing they have is the moon.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, the moon would be more useful in that regard due to lower gravity, but you know what's even more useful? Having no gravity at all to just accelerate with.
Anyway, disaster. It came out that the disaster was caused by a cost-cutting measure by the cartel.
Of course.
What part of the cartel? What part of the cartel?
The Landsvieter Orbital.
Grand Cross was plunged into political. Now the year is now 2020. Elections are less than a year away. The cartel is working overtime to strengthen its grip on power.
I really hate the concept because it's just so badly written.
It's
like I see what they're angling at, but it just doesn't work.
Also, it's supposed to be like activist Trump years, but in space.
Yeah.
It's not even really Trumpism because we've seen some Trumpism like other things. Like no, this is more just big business bad.
Yeah, it's big corporate, big business bad.
Well, no, they should.
This almost kind of feels like this was written like the episode this was written in 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My big problem with this, first off, is just the very rapid unification of systems. When this was written, the failures of big treaty groups like NATO and the EU have already kind of been shown at that point.
Mm-hmm.
2, the fact of the matter is an environmental disaster caused by a big fucking asteroid hitting the planet. I think that you would struggle to get anything done because just the sheer amount of famine. That's not going to fix itself in a fucking decade. Problem 3. All the member states just kind of giving up on their little space station. You're really going to tell me that they're going to just give it up even though you've spent all this money, effort, and you've now set up so that you can now use it as a platform. Admittedly, you can't mine from it because it's not good astronomically, but that's what the moon's for. You haul it from the moon to there to build your spaceship.
Well, then you build it L1.
That too. You could do that. You could build like a little dock works up there.
That might be the case where they built. Like if they explained it that Grand Cross was originally designed to be the main space hub. The problem is that people forgot the fact that you got to move shit there. Like so it's now become a big water because So then instead L1 becomes the main hub because L1, despite the fact that it's less safe, it's closer, so you can haul things from Earth easier. There's less issues with same thing with the moon, and yeah, you just use that as your slingshot point instead. L5,
Or
L5 or L.
maybe you just have L5, Grand Cross be the demonstration of like a demonstration model.
Yeah,
Anyway,
like
I
this
just
is
also
how we
realized
could
something.
do.
Wait.
This is how.
I just
What?
realized something. Wouldn't in this setting, due to the fact that a lot of the pores that are coming in, and the ones that are going to be the riling up, are from fucking Scandinavia? Doesn't that mean in
Oh
this case?
boy.
Doesn't this mean all the? I
They
just
didn't think it through.
like I'm reading the thing. Inequality and crime are on the rise. Well, wouldn't that be wouldn't inequality and crime be more prevalent in the refugee population?
Yeah.
They didn't think of that.
Oh, hilariously, wouldn't in this case it actually be essentially it would be all the systems are trying to keep all these blonde-haired aliens out of power
They fucking didn't think of that at all.
Oh.
because depending on who because remember the African Union were a major donor to this, so they probably are very entrenched within the station.
No. I actually have a theory about this. I think this is like a legitimately just cynical money grabbing attempt to squeeze, the Twitter activist types out of their cash. And I think that is a little just tweak by the authors at them. Like, yeah, they're not gonna get it.
I don't feel it's cynical. It's not like Thirsty Sword Lesbian was.
Thirsty Sword Lesbians is
That was
the
cynical.
exact.
That was
yeah,
a degenerate who had a fetish who tried to actually push it as no, I'm not a fetishist at all. I'm a morally upstanding person who wishes to fight for you,
welcome.
my queen.
Welcome to the Grand Cross. These two paragraphs I'm literally going to skip because they're literally pretty much every welcome to the future thing. Technology is advanced, but things aren't great still. Whoa.
Corp Cartel with representation sounds like they ripped off Shadow. Yeah, they did rip off Shadowrun with that.
Technology has transformed society, but has only reinforced the existing power structure. Equality and crime are on the rise. Privacy is shrinking. Old, corrupt politicians sign their station's future to corporations as its youth struggle for control.
So it's current
fuck.
year.
Here we go. Technological inequality. I want to read some of this.
Go.
Okay, I'm going to skip the first paragraph because but these benefits are not distributed fairly, and society is struggling to adapt. Every advance in technology is captured by the wealthy and used to control the poor.
No,
Cybernetics.
There's something called creative destruction, you idiot.
Cybernetics that could profoundly change what it means to be human are used to make people better wage slaves. Wagey in the cagey.
That's one of the actual ethical arguments against human augmentation.
Yeah.
I hate to give them credit for that one, but I have to give them credit for that one. That's an actual thing that people that are talking about the ethics of this shit discuss. Where it's like, what if a corporation is using these with its workers, and basically that if you can't advance in the corporation without getting in augmentations. And other cyberpunk stuff has covered stuff like that.
Or what if you get Elon Musk's brain chip? Now he has a fucking kill switch in your brain.
Yeah.
Don't the monkeys just kill themselves in Minecraft each time they get installed with one?
Eventually.
Don't want chip and brain. Want tree.
My best guess is that's causing some psychosis in them.
Cyberpsychosis is real.
Meanwhile, the gap in the rich and poor is widening. The wealthy can extend their lives and the abilities with technology far beyond. I just realized something.
This is just
fucking. This is the year 2020. Why has technology advanced so far with cybernetics if everyone was focusing so long on trying to build space travel?
Well, you see, it's because I think they have a very good point.
The only argument I can see for that would be that these are augmentations that were originally purposed for space colonization. That would be the only argument. Nope. It's a shitty one.
They didn't even think of that. What
use does age extenders have for fucking astronauts?
You see, what
colony ships.
You know what Gundam did? They explained why they had the big robots. Do you want to know why they had the big robots? They started life as power suits during construction.
Yeah.
and then they just got bigger because guess what? If you can get it bigger, it protects you, the worker inside the suit, from micrometeors. And you know what you can also do with them? You can also lift a lot more. And then you just use the other, and then the other guys just do the fine work. You could do a lot of basic big bulk things with them.
Yep.
Anyway, they had a point. The problem is it's been
Pain.
done by better ideas.
It's been done elsewhere better.
Speaking of ideas, because what's next is there is really nothing. It's just exactly what you think. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. Woo! Battlefield of ideas.
Oh God.
It's literally just the rich
Culture
are getting rich, the poor are
war.
getting poor. No, it's a quiet war.
Oh, here's my next
Quiet
question.
weapon for silent wars. Bill Cooper.
Here's my question. Actually, I just thought of that. So, you know how Grand Cross was a dozens of nations wide building project where they sent the Tuvaluans to die? What fucking language do they speak? Is it just English?
Street slang, obviously.
Because there's dozens of this is worse than Austria-Hungary if you think about it, because of all the people thrown in there.
Austria-Hungary, that's not even a comparison. This is more like one big city at this point. It's not a nation.
A big city with dozens of different languages. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was done in districts owned by, say, different nations, maybe that would have worked a bit better.
Yeah.
And then you know what you could have the evil corporations do, because there's there's a whole bunch of bodies of of different nations. You know what you could do? You could have them work to get them to fight each other, squabbling on how to run the fucking colony, and then use the gap in their inefficiency to gain power that way.
Yeah. That would be smart, and that would require effort. And this had no effort.
We spent more time talking about how we'd make this better than actually the game.
Yeah, but instead, protests are on the rise. The technology of 2020 has opened up the world of opportunities for internet activism. How the fuck does the internet
No
work?
justice, no
How
peace,
does it?
Well,
no racist
you put the chip in your brain, the chip that makes you want to do a flip out of the airlock, right? You put that in your brain,
Yeah.
and
Activism.
it allows you to tap into the. Let me
By
finish.
the way, just aside, wouldn't hacktivism be an actual legit threat in this world? Because if someone fucking hacks the fucking air ducts,
Yeah.
they're all dead.
Theoretically, yeah. A hacker could hold an entire station hostage pretty quickly.
That's basically what happened to System Shock. Remember? That's the whole plot of why everything went to shit. A hacker was paid to remove some basic safety features on the station AI, and it goes horribly fucking wrong.
Yeah,
But I just love the idea. You have the suicide chip in your brain, the one that makes you go crazy, and you're just stuck, in the metaverse protesting because of the virtual VR, because of the virtual VR overlays are dominating your eyesight. You're visually That's probably what happened with the apes. They suffered what basically Musk gave them schizophrenia because of the impulses.
Anyway, in response, as
you have your
L-Ford is
schizophrenia
asked, blah
chip.
blah blah. People angry. In response, the cartel has propaganda. They've set up a think tank and lobby, funding the politicians. They're flooding the internet with their advertisements. They bankroll hate groups in order to turn the stations vulnerable into counter activists.
Here's my problem with this. This
North
happened
nationalists, cyborg and anti-cyborg vigilantes, cops and worse.
You know what the robotic age did? They explained where the robots came from. They came about in World War fucking III after advances in drone technology made them very autonomous. Holy shit! Also, reminder, the evil corporation cartel, less than 2 years ago, killed millions!
Yeah?
Yeah,
because they want to skim a few million.
Look, I know current year
before.
people are stupid, but are you fucking with me?
The thing is, that's happened before with other large corporations, and they've gotten away with
it. It's the Titanic. Look.
And guess what happened to White Star Line? Its economy collapsed.
This wouldn't be White Star Line. This would be something akin to... Well, it depends on... Okay, so if the Off-World Cartel is a bunch of different businesses working together, then they could have just
The cartel would have fucking cut them off like a
the cartel probably cut the corporation that was in charge of that second station off.
Which, okay,
and
that
just
would be fair.
jettisoned it.
That would be fair, but
If they mentioned that, I'd give them credit because it's basically the cartel is claiming to be doing something for everyone.
They're policing themselves. They've promised to police themselves.
Yeah,
like if they get the stupid company,
also
which is what a bunch of corporations do to get away with absolutely heinous shit.
Yeah, just you get them on corporate malfeasance, essentially put the guy into cushy prison, and divest your assets among themselves after staging a fake auction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they don't even bother. No, they just say we threw money at the politicians and they made it go away.
Well, remember the first point. Who did what is up to you. We have to cover for their inability.
The cartel. Also, at this point, it doesn't feel like this is a bunch of businesses. This feels like this is one business, the cartel.
Yeah, actually, we're getting into threats. Let's get into threats. The Off-World Cartel. It's a consortium of corporations with a focus on space, particularly Grand Cross. Together, they own the majority of the station's private sector and bankroll many of its politicians, too. If you live off Earth, they've impacted your life one way or another. If they get their way, they'll own it. Do they also own the moon colonies that you forgot about? Do they own those?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. How much control do they actually have over the lunar colonies?
What about the L1 launch station?
No, they're an amorphous, all-powerful enemy that's also needs to be weak enough to beat.
Yeah, that's my problem with most people writing bad guys now. They don't explain Earth to space internet, do they? Well, actually, that's pretty trivial. I mean, there'd be a minimal delay, but like it's really easy.
It's all radio waves.
That's not a huge issue.
Trivial.
Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering, is there like a net specifically for them?
I mean, a closed network system would be useful for a corporation.
Well, closed network system almost certainly would exist on a space station. It'd just be the most practical thing to have.
Because imagine some asshole from Uganda, if it was open, asshole from Uganda runs a script to like the oxygen control machine or to the plant control machine.
No.
Intentionally like.
Also, because I just want to finish the section they mentioned about the Off-World Cartel. Some of the true aims of these people may vary. Some see themselves as philanthropists working within a system. Others openly profit from suffering. They all try to keep their motives hidden from each other.
This is Seal.
But every member is willing to work together or tolerate each other, because all of their schemes will benefit each other, which is a blatant lie. Even within the same industry, the 2008 crash happened because everyone was doing the same fucking scheme and it screwed everyone over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, this is basically just Seal. I just thought of it. I just realized this is just the very rich old men who want to rule the world as god kings.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if you're gonna rip off anime, maybe don't be so blatant about it. Be so blatant about it.
Companies within the same sphere, when they work together, their schemes quote unquote benefit each other, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they work actively against each other.
Because there's only so much of a
There is
market.
only so much money. There is only so much money, or most money has no meaning.
And that's just another tangent. I'm sorry, but I have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Meta's failing. That's why Facebook is failing. It has reached its peak in money, its peak in users, and they still are.
That's why it's trying to expand Africa. That's why it's trying to expand to Africa.
And that's why they're delusional and trying desperately to squeeze blood from a stone where they've squeezed it all out, and that's why they're collapsing. Because that's why they're doing that stupid metaverse crap.
By the way,
business model is always based off of growth. Always.
By the way, next the robots. Robots are in this now. The Dreamers.
They're called Dreamers because, of course,
they're not androids. Because androids are built off. Because an android mind is built off a human. Dreamers are something else entirely.
Oh,
they are based on Earth scan. They are based on brain scan of Earth creatures like dolphins, lobsters, and as a little thing, mantis.
A lobster AI.
Lobster
AI.
Lobster AI.
Okay. Completely fine with this now. Okay, sign me the fuck up. I want to be the Giga
along
Lobster
with an illegal data dog. Also dog. So their brains are made up of like scans of dolphins, lobsters, shrimp, and dogs.
The second that it brought into dogs, it's like, okay, that's obviously referencing Cowboy Bebop, and it's just like,
Yeah.
On the other hand,
Why-
lobster AI sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Secret
I mean,
AI, along
lobsters
with
are
secret
basically
AI
just
research.
big sea cats if you think about it.
Along with secret AI research, all blended into one horrible gunk mess.
Fun fact,
That
lobsters, I actually know some decent details about them, sorry. They are actually very lonely and kind of moody in terms of like the crustacean, and they're actually quite intelligent. They're not octopus smart, but they're pretty smart. So basically imagine a big cantankerous sea cat that has pinchy claws.
Anyway, the end result is a being that humanity cannot really comprehend or communicate with.
The
The cartel originally
you made
designed them to
robot
prepare.
animals, okay.
The cartel originally designed them to terraform places. They'd land on new worlds, work for a few years, and the cartel would have a new shining city. Sure, the androids could do this, but okay, there apparently are androids, but they asked for things like pay and respect.
Oh,
The cartel
fuck
wanted robots
me.
that could think, but not think like that. Then the cartel started putting them in other jobs. The Dreamers went rogue. Some wandered off during covert missions and never came back, while others fought their way into containment areas. These Dreamers lurk in forgotten corners of the Grand Cross, following a mix of the original orders and alien designs. The cartel is looking for them, but the priorities covering up their involvement. What the Dreamers do to you isn't their problem.
This is your stupid anime monster thing. I hate that.
Yeah.
Look, you need to explain how robotics got as advanced as being able to perfectly template animal brains. You need to explain
And not just
how...
perfectly template
humans.
and then combine.
Yeah.
You need to also explain where we got the genetic augmentation skill to just do this sort of stuff. Like, you get what I mean? You can't just kind of forcibly shove that shit in with the assumption of, well, you
With
see
20
an
years. With only
asteroid...
about fucking 20 years. With only about fucking 20 years.
Well, you see an asteroid hit the planet, and then we magically can do all this now.
As I mentioned before, at least Cyberpunk, they clearly show that the point of divergence is in 1940 fucking 2 of all. Well, actually, it's technically earlier than that, but the one
Yeah.
that really any impact is actually felt is 42.
Mm-hmm. And even then, you know what they weren't stupid enough to do? Make a bunch of robots. Like, yeah, they exist, but they're considered relatively dumb. Why do that when you can just plug a brain that you basically is your slave to do the same thing?
Yeah, the criminals.
Saboteurs.
Criminal gangs got on here because they used stolen funds to send their men up.
What?
They use crypto. The crypto gangs are gonna steal your age.
Jokes aside, I can only see some criminal organizations. There are a lot of them that would have no fucking place ever even wanting their people to be sent up into space. I don't think I really don't think some criminal organizations really would feel that at home there.
Here's what I keep wanting to improve this. Criminals form organically based on the environment they're from.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they can't infiltrate an environment. For instance, well, Las Vegas is the archetypal example.
Like, for example, here, it's mostly unsupervised. It's fairly freewheeling in Newtown. You'd run into bandits, people who essentially, in the less populated areas of the cylinder, just rob you at gunpoint, or maybe the equivalent of a mob. Or
I could understand I could understand basically like a Teamster Mafia.
Teamster Mafia, Street Gang, Union Mafia. You would also run into
maybe
nationalist
some
hate
of the
groups, like
maybe
gangs.
maybe some of the also political gangs and paramilitaries.
Oh, imagine remember when we said Fijians and all the other poor Pacific Islanders were sent to... Imagine
Fijian
a gang of them.
nationalist. No, I got it. Like a pan-Polynesian nationalist group that wants to hijack as sleeper ships so they can become space Polynesians.
I need to say this
colonies.
There's a sort of relevant example, and I'm gonna this is taken from 2077, but it's actually kind of relevant. Haiti doesn't exist in 2077, so the Haitian diaspora happened, and a bunch of them have coalesced in Night City and formed their own weird mini gang / mini state within the combat zone.
No, that sounds about right. I was
they've not many spoilers. Let's just say they don't really. They've kind of adapted voodoo in a very interesting way.
I was just
with technology.
I was just going to say that I was envisioning a large, extremely powerful gang organization done into cells where you still have like the Polynesian traditions where they actually fucking commit cannibalism. They're all tattooed and they wield like mono obsidian blades and clubs.
Also, look how much they cared about this. That this is barely 2 paragraphs. They exist. They beat people up. They rob you. There.
Yeah, they don't even tell you like the different types of criminal. Like, there's no booster gang examples. There's no nomad
or
groups.
like what group, or like what type of criminals do what type of crime. Like,
no, they vary from district to district.
Like you could have like a bunch of embezzling like crypto bros who like run a dirty casino where you launder your Bitcoin into it.
Law
or like it's essentially it's tornado cash, but in real life, and you actually can gamble with it.
The Grand Cross or hell. No, I got it. Like if you want like a corporate aligned gang, like a really scummy paramilitary group, or like mercenary group, like the Wagner or Blackwater or something.
Or like in Shadowrun examples, like not necessarily Lone Star, but like Hardcore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Met 2000 is like the big mercenary group.
Law enforcement.
Because they're your
police
threats
are
too.
suffering an identity crisis. Police are suffering an identity crisis. On paper, they enforce the law, but the law is written by those who have power to protect their power.
Okay, asshole.
Their motto is to protect it. Their motto is to protect and serve, but the rules don't say they have to.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
By the way, reminder: these people are the first to call the police whenever they get under any threat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Some cops do their duty with pride and honor, but the corruption in the system. The corruption is within the system. The public image of the police as a force for good depends on the blue wall of silence that exempt officers from the law they're charged with upholding. At the same time, they're slowly being replaced by even less accountable private security.
# fuck you.
To you, they're a wild card. They're less likely to have your back as they are to violently oppose you. They're forced to be avoided and redirected.
I'm sorry, I just... Yeah, that...
Going once again from Cyberpunk, cop is one of the careers.
Don't get me wrong, there's corrupt cops, and I can even see how you could do it. Like, honestly, Alien Isolation and the Alien RPG book did a pretty good job. They had what were called colonial marshals, where it was a police force for the colony, right? They are police, but they're more like sheriff, and they have a lot of leeway to kind of enforce their law based on the district. So you could have different districts having different laws, and you could have just, like power hungry, good old boys clubs sort of form. Like you could do all sorts of things that way. It's just, this is ACAB fucking propaganda garbage.
You know what? Honestly, reading this makes me want to run. Actually, makes me want to run a session of this, but just play it as just so over the top and goofy as possible.
Don't forget other factions. Android rights.
Of course.
Okay.
What are androids exist here, by the way? Apparently.
Robotic Age made that a big point about their problems in Strife, and that's why.
Also, what is an android? What is an android? Is an android like is a human who has gone a convergence? Is a machine built up with a brain similar to a human? What is it?
Anyway, they have the same rights as human on papers, but in practice, there's a lot to be done. This is our gay code because we can't shame you for your sexual preferences or physical form.
Orbital independence.
You're independent already.
Earthnoid space.
You are your own nation.
Yeah, this is just the Xeon LARPers.
This is just we don't want Earth to have influence over us.
What the? Okay.
This is just Xeon, but shit.
Like, also this early on.
Yeah, no one has started living here till like 2010 or no 2013.
There's less than 10 years here.
Yeah, 2013. The space station took off.
They're also entirely dependent on Earth for supplies, from what I'm understanding here.
The second generation of kids. Oh yeah, and it is because of the layout. Like when we get to the layout, they have no ability.
The oldest of Voidborn, using a Warhammer term, the oldest these Voidborn could be are 6 or 7.
First grade.
Yeah. So the nationalists are just all a bunch of like first grade. They're like edgy first graders.
Mm-hmm.
Like Call of Duty kids.
Mm-hmm.
Singularists. Oh god.
A loose movement of tech-obsessed geeks. They believe humanity's priority should be technological progress at any cost, and disdain anti-capitalist activism is threatening to slow that down, like the Impact did.
Movie Bob.
They're disorganized, but
no.
equally motivated by outrage or by the tech corporation CEOs that see them as priests to the oncoming technological rapture.
Oh god, no,
wonder-
it's a mix of Elon Musk weird Twitter nerds and movie Bob.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
God damn.
Earth!
Oh boy.
The United States is funding fundamentalist
course.
religious groups. and
Not
sympathetic
Russia.
right-wing
Not the
Okay.
psychos in Russia. Fuck off.
No, the United States has a long history of funding.
I
Well,
don't
yeah,
give a
well,
shit.
people within the United States, the
I don't
government.
give a
not
shit.
so much.
I
No,
don't
we
give a
funded
shit.
a bunch of weird religious groups back in
Don't
the 80s.
give a shit. You know for a fact why they fucking had them there. This is not an
Yeah,
example
I know.
of that. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Not you, Tech. These guys. Fuck you.
It's like I do what I could believe who's that asshole who essentially started who really brought the anti-gay love to Uganda back in like the 90s and 80s.
Pat
That
Robertson?
was someone that was in the United States. Yeah, like
Yeah,
there's
I know,
an
but that wasn't the
evangelical
United States.
church.
That was a dude. That was a dude.
Yeah. You know what would make more sense? Besides, like, don't just mention the U.S. Mention because China is just as guilty, actually worse.
David mentioned them earlier. as
China
people with the
good,
US.
but China's good.
Like, mention all of
No,
the
they weren't.
original, Council of Eight. All of them are playing this game because they don't want them to be as leewayed independent as they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Have it
and
that
hell,
they
even
all
mentioned
play
at the
their
beginning.
games.
They even mentioned at the fucking little thing that most of the Earth governments essentially made a non-aggression pact with each other that said, so long as you don't get any influence on that station, I don't get any influence on that station.
So what would be best? I wouldn't even complain about this. I wouldn't have been so pissed if it was another nation was given as an example, because all great powers do this shit.
Yeah.
United States ain't fucking special. I'm not saying we've done all things. I'm just saying that, like, no.
I mean, one I would go for interesting would be how does Islam work in space when you may not even know what direction it is towards Earth, let
At this
alone
point, you
Mars?
would.
There's literally been councils about this before. They basically say just pray in whatever direction.
Yeah.
Because it's going to the point of the matter is that you're at least doing the prayers.
You're trying, just try to aim yourself at
If
Earth.
the author was smart, or well, I think they're smart because I think this is just them bilking money. But
I don't think that. I think this is
if they
more
were
genuine than
lazy, if they were actually cared about it, they would have cited those rulings and be like, "Hey, see, I put research into this setting.
Oh, by the way,
There's an interesting thing that you might not have learned."
Being a putting the research, the next page is the full. It's a kind of mixed thing of the whole thing. And this, by the way, apparently 4.5 million people live on this station.
Yeah, it's O'Neill cylinders can be quite efficient at that. By the way,
Downtown.
before you do, from Pagan Pilot. Speaking of China, where are the corporations that are extensions of the state? I want to see Space Tencent. Yeah.
I want to see. Yeah. Why? Yeah. Like actually, no. By this setting its own standards, that actually should have been the perfect way. Essentially, set up nationalized companies because nations can't have influence here. Corporations can.
Yeah.
Well, Greg,
puppet companies
not
through
smart. They're not smart, I know.
Because that would be too much thought for their user base, for their intended audience. Their intended audience wants capitalism bad, and they don't really care about the government because most of them see daddy government as a good thing. And they don't really they either don't really understand or they don't really care that there is a massive octopus between the governments of the world and private industry. That trying to target one group it's not solving the problem.
Mm-hmm. Incestuous in bed and at the same time combative.
Yeah. They're like hate fucking.
Speaking
Governments
of hate,
and corporations hate fuck each other.
Speaking of hate, look on page 18. This is why I have contempt for them, because this
Hey, look, it's Arasaka.
Yeah?
That fucking looks like an Arasaka gun from the 2077.
It does. Also, is that Chappie maybe that he's beating up?
Yeah, he's beating up some cripple.
No, not a cripple. He's a robot. He is an android.
That's an android. I didn't see that.
I can tell it's an android. I think he's based on some design from another show, though.
Also, did that person just rip out that? Wait, why is there concrete being used on this station?
Actually, that's a good question. Why would you ever use concrete in space? It'd be awful in space.
Because I just noticed like that's obviously they're holding like a rebar with the concrete stuff that they ripped out of the.
Oh,
like,
I
the
didn't even.
floor.
Don't you like how they're using a fucking spear to stab a dude in power armor?
And that's not. I don't
Yeah.
think that's. I don't think it's a spear. I think they're like. I think that's supposed to be like a weird future stop sign.
I like
You know
how
what? I actually want to run this game as Space Antifa.
I also like the Wall
Can't get
Street
that to
Bets
mechanics.
guy, Radical Larry, there using his hoverboard as a fucking weapon.
Jesus Christ, that is Wall Street Bets.
That's Wall Street Bets, kid.
They do know Wall Street Bets is based off Donald Trump, right?
No, they don't. They don't. There's no way they do.
It's not even
Oh,
a
by the way,
good imitation.
speaking of Wall Street, there's a fuck, what was that protest that happened?
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy. Look, Occupy Wall Street's in the background.
Fun.
Amazing.
Mechanics.
Yeah, basic mechanics. Here we
Six
go.
side die.
Before we begin, I've been pretty harsh on this, but you know what I'll
I mean,
give?
it's been 2 hours.
I'm
We might
powered
want
by
to
the
call it
apocalypse.
here.
No, I'm willing to go because we'll go through this a little quicker.
All right.
At least
Yeah,
we'll go
much
through
quicker.
part of it. We can stop because it's going to be really big. We'll just get through the character creation guide, I think, and that's about it.
Powered by the. It's not powered by the apocalypse.
I'll also give it
Thanks.
this: they got to the
God.
mechanics pretty early. There are books that don't do that. Okay, so Hardwired Island uses 6-sided die because they used essentially the West End system. When you're asked to roll a
Okay.
number followed by a 6, roll as many die and add them together. D6 mean 1, 2, blah, blah, blah. We get it. Difficulties and outcomes. When you roll die, you're doing something difficult. There's something in your way or something's trying to stop you. So here are the difficulties. 7's routine, 9's moderately difficult, 11's hard, 13's very challenging, and 15's near impossible.
Hello.
Hey, you're on stream.
Mickey Mouse doing here.
I don't know how you just kind of barge in near the end every time.
That's because I'm working out. I'm trying to get that. I'm doing that True Sigma grind set, baby.
Jokes
going
on,
to
jokes
This is
on
the
you.
reason
This
why-
is going to be longer than normal.
Also, jokes on
Vicky
you.
is the-
This book hates you.
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
I
it
mean,
rips
they already
off a
talked
lot
about.
of Gundam.
Yeah. Also,
what?
Biggie, you are the one that will be spaced by the AI for going for your gains. I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Which one are we talking about?
Hardwired Island, baby. It's ripped off
Yeah.
Evangelion. It's ripped off Cowboy Bebop, including the Data Dog plotline. They've
In a
ripped
good
off
way or a
Gundam.
bad way?
All bad. All horrible.
What do you think?
Oh no.
Anyway, if you get the number or above, you do it. If you low, you fail. The
Mhm.
GM offers you a bargain. You essentially success. It's success, but it costs you something, or a near success.
This is West End Games, but with the Modifius system.
Yeah.
Also with advantage and disadvantages.
I
I don't hate it. Like the mechanics from what I'm looking at doesn't seem too bad.
dice
Roll an additional
mechanics.
d6 and discard the
Confident.
lowest number. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, there actually is advantage on the next page.
Yeah. Advantages and disadvantages. The way it works is you add a d6 and you throw away the worst roll in advantage, and you throw away the best roll in disadvantage.
Mhm.
Boost, you
Boost.
add an additional saves. There you go. Criticals and harms. Actually, I think I know what this is based on. This is based on Fantasy Flight's Edge of Empires game. This is very clearly based on Star Wars Edge of Empires.
I love Star Wars.
No, I can kind of tell that's where it is because of the boost, saves, critical, and harm.
That's the design that they were looking at for that.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah?
It's simple. I'm cool with that. That's the only thing so far I've actually kind of like.
How aggressive is that?
At the very least, I could run this as Space Antifa Simulator.
What was
So
that?
was
Big?
it
Harm.
Biggs asked the
Essentially,
question.
So is this supposed to be like aping off paranoia too? Because I'm kind of getting like a
no,
hostility.
not
for
really.
your
Not
book.
really.
They wish
at
they
all.
could.
Not really at all. And
It's
Harm, here's
Cyberpunk
okay.
if they had no sense of humor.
harm. If you've suffered harm, -1 to your rolls. If you got a 10, it's a 9. So if it's serious harm, you roll with 1 less die.
Yeah, you're in bad shape if you're at that point. So
Character
Yep.
creation. Abilities, origins, traits, occupation, talent, specialty, defense, asset, burden, and goal.
That's fair. Abilities are just the things that you have. So there's cool, clever, tough, and quick, which
When you create your character, assign each of them the numbers +0, +1, +2, or +3. An action tells you to roll an ability like plus cool, add that number.
okay. So it's D6 die pool plus the bonus, I think.
I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Character origins, yeah. Traits, yeah. Occupation, yeah. Talent, blah blah blah. This is competent. I have no issue with it.
Yeah.
Your origins can give you a bonus to 2 specialities, which we'll get to below. For instance, a military veteran might have cybernetic augments or military-related specialties.
Yep.
The full list of origins below.
And here's a character creation guide, which I always liked when Chronicles and World of Darkness did this because it made things a lot easier. So no issue. So I'm going to just move on. I will state right now, these pages are actually really good. So we're not going to actually critique them.
Before that, read burden.
Very well. Your burden starts at 1, cannot go.
No. The description of what a burden is. It was on the page you skipped.
Your burden is a rough measure of your character's socioeconomic Okay. There we go. There's the fuck up.
It's how much they can spend at once and how many losses they can take. It's as the station's fortunes rise and fall, your burden will change.
Woo!
So it's a status.
It is literally your.
Hey, Tech, do you remember that game you showed us about that shitty little like finger game about like how long will it take Rome to burn?
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like is Rome on fire at the moment? And if so, are you okay?
Yeah, like that game's fun because it's just a shit post. Really,
Yeah.
Is Rome on fire? Yes. We need to pretend it's not on fire because
this
that's
one
just how it is.
This is clearly. This is your oppression points modifier.
Yeah, like if it's just a status thing, then why call it burden?
You know.
Well, it's because it's your socioeconomic burden.
You know what World of Darkness did, and it was a lot less retarded. World of Darkness had a thing called resources, which determined how relatively wealthy you were, right?
Yeah, but here your resources fall and wither, and not from your own choices, but because of the decisions of the politicians above.
You know what that.
So if I'm just like a drunk that wastes all my money in the fucking bar, does that mean I can blame the white man for taking all my money?
Well, actually, you'd probably be the oppressed white man because the refugees are mostly Norwegian, Danish, and like Swedish.
Danes. Yeah.
Don't forget already mentioned Danes.
Yeah.
Finns.
Well, the Finns are Mongolians. It's okay.
So, yep, character creation guide. It's completely competent. I've no issue. So let's move on to, well, the origins. These are always fun.
All right, look out for the good one.
Activist.
Yeah.
I mean, in all fairness, that's fine. That's fine having that as a thing.
You spend a lot of time protesting, fighting for causes, and probably getting assaulted by the cops. The first group prep roll you make before a mission is boosted. Android. So, yeah, you can be a robot. Why
that's
robots
not even really
exist?
an origin, but yeah.
Why robots exist? They don't clarify.
Cyberpunk has robots, therefore we have robots.
Why can't I be an android criminal? Why can't I be an android drone?
Well, here's the thing with that. They just didn't think of it.
Yeah, these people are humanists, you see, and I don't mean like the philosophical term. I mean they're bigoted towards the non-humans.
Android is my entire life. I have nothing going on besides Android.
Well, that's the thing. You're an android. It's like that's gonna kind of affect everything about you when you think about it.
But you're saying androids can't be criminals?
Not necessarily.
It reminds me of this shit post someone made. It was
can the Wimbledon match between you two end?
No. I just wanted to say that I want to play an android that dresses up as Gritty and punches random people.
Oh my god, yes! Just all mascot suits have been replaced by androids.
Yes!
Imagine being an android and you've achieved sentience and rights, and you're stuck as like looking like the fucking like the Chuck E. Cheese.
No,
like,
it's grit. No, I'm going with gritty just to go for the whole Antifa vibe.
No, I like
Gritty-
the
Starbucks windows.
Gritty is a good one, but
I
like
like
I'm
the
talking
Chuck
more
E.
like
Cheese one where they
Yeah,
decide like you just see them do their job and then eventually you just hear them scream "Punkers" and like shave their felt fur off and go full punk and start punching the parents.
yeah, like shit like that. Like that's if you're doing androids, it has to be shit like that. If you're doing like a whole background, it's like you were a fucking laborer, or you were a weird mascot, or you were made by that, and then finally
You
got your
had a
chip removed.
demeaning career, and it doesn't necessarily apply. I would call them wage slave instead.
Wagey.
Oh, no, that's what corporate drone is.
Yeah.
But, oh, by the way, celebrity, because builder is literally just what you think it is. It's just the
They
build.
build
You
things.
stuff. Celebrity,
build
you are minus
things.
celebrity, a former celebrity, or a social media influencer.
So,
Oh,
who,
God.
by the way, just use their wealth to fake their fame. They all do. They are so fake. It's hilarious.
Either that, or you're a washed up, or either that, or you're Charlie Sheen and you're washed up.
The only genuine influencer that has come from nothing is fucking Drill, and Drill just shit posts all day.
Yeah.
Civil
I
servant.
highly recommend you find his book. It is literally just his tweets. It is
You
fucking
perform an underappreciated but stable work for the government, translating forms, blah 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 blah. When dealing with government, you have an advantage.
Basically, you're a bureaucrat. You're Hermes Conrad
You're-
from Futurama.
Yeah, you're either a bureaucrat or you're someone that has to deal with a lot of fucking paperwork.
Corporate drone. Wagey.
It's the same. It's pretty much
Contagious.
bureaucrat. It's bureaucrat, but corporate.
Criminal. You just commit crimes. What type of crimes? Crimes.
Space
Give it
crime.
cyber
You
crime
live
in
on
the
the wrong
future.
side of the law.
You live on the wrong side of the cylinder.
You have to watch out for space cops.
Crosser. You're a crosser. You know your way around the station.
That's
That's
a
it.
stupid origin.
That's
Yeah.
a really fucking stupid power too for a criminal. Like,
Yeah.
what if you're a cyber criminal? Like, why would you know around the space station?
No. Criminal's ability is the first personal prep roll you make is boosted.
Yeah.
No, crossers. Once per mission, you may boost one roll that relies on knowledge of the station's layout.
You know what'd be smarter is if you just called them a drifter or an itinerant, like a homeless person.
Just call it space hobo.
Space hobo.
But no, they're not
Disaster
hobos.
refugee.
They could be rich people. They could be perfectly fine people. They just don't have a job and they just wander around all day. They're rich idiots.
Yes, the European traveler. Yes,
Or the American expat.
Or the hobo.
or the hobo.
Disaster No, that's the disaster refugee.
Well, no, hobos. There's a difference between what was it? Hobos.
A drifter, a hobo,
drifter, and bum.
whatever the fuck it was.
A
Bum,
bum.
yeah. Like a hobo travels because they want to travel.
Well, not only
Mm-hmm.
that, but they also do like you can get a drifter to do work, but they might not always stay. Hobos, it takes effort, but they can work. Bums never will, unless you
Mm-hmm.
force them to.
Double crosser. You were mostly raised on the Grand Cross. Yeah, the station went up in 2013. It's 2020.
So you're a child. You are a 6-year-old activist
or
child.
to be quote unquote raised to be. Let's just be kind and say 18. You had to have come up here as 11. You have not spent most of your life here.
You're an 11-year-old. You're the kid from RoboCop 2. You know, the kid criminal from RoboCop 2.
No. Worse. You're the kid from RoboCop 3.
Oh God.
You're one of those two kids.
No.
Oh God, that's a fate worse than death.
Ex-cop. You got too old.
I like how cop's not an option.
As a cat.
Oh yeah, cops are antagonists.
Yeah,
Same.
His name, Space Cop. He comes from the future. The future. of space.
Gamer. Whether you're a
Gamer.
fan,
Yeah.
an MMO raider, or cool and sexy tabletop game okay, that
Don't
was
fucking flatter
No,
yourself,
fuck
buddy.
you.
you
I
spend most
knew
of
that
your
was
life
coming.
playing games and adapt quickly. Once per mission, you can boast a quick roll.
No,
Fuck off.
no. What would happen is once per distance, you can use nerd rage to punch your problems away.
Yes.
No, I gotta admit for that
No,
next one down.
I got it. No, I got something better. You can once per day. You can use the gamer word,
I
and it
find it-
causes people to freak out.
I find it really interesting that the next one down. I'm actually really surprised that they put homosexual as a With an occupation. I wonder how that turns out.
Journalist.
Well, remember, Biggs. This is luxury gay space communism created.
Well,
by
no,
the
this one's the worst.
positivists.
Actually, this one's the worst so far. It's complicated.
What?
Your origin story is either convoluted or you pretend it is to avoid talking about it.
It's
Either way,
other.
you've come to the Grand Cross to escape bullshit. Gain speciality +1 bullshit.
Okay, genuinely, I can see where they're going with that one. I don't like it, but I can see where they're going with it.
Lottery winner. Your country gave out tickets to space via lottery and you won. Cool.
Wouldn't it be more along the wait? You're starting burdened by one. Wouldn't you be like more fucked because you had horrible accidents building the
Here's
thing?
the thing: isn't a high burden a bad thing?
Yeah.
No. Burden is good. Burden is
Low
good.
burden's
remember?
good. Yeah.
No, is low burden good or is high
Low
burden
burden
good?
is good because it is it's the oppression Olympics where the higher your burden, the more oppressed you are.
You see, this is why just saying how much wealth they have is so much more fucking easier.
Yeah, resources would have been smarter, but the problem is, as quoted by Pagan Pilot, put resources since it's political enough.
I mean, even then, you could have literally gone with credits or space station credits or some
bucks.
shit like that. Space
Neo
bucks.
shekels.
Rocket bucks.
Mill veteran. What do you fucking think a mill veteran is?
From Coyote, sentient android, but it's one of those Japanese perfector or city cutesy mascots. When you punch or get punched, you make a squeaky toy noise.
Oh no! I can imagine that already. It's just pathetic.
Rich in
And-
years. So your origin is you're old.
You saw the Cold War, the impact, the space thrust, the Grand Cross, and you're not going anywhere.
You're the
Yeah.
hibbit.
Now,
That almost
okay.
would be funny. Sorry.
You know what? This is actually making me come up with character ideas. Either the rogue sports mascot, the edgy 12-year-old gamer with an assault rifle, or the crotchety old man who rants about cyborgs on his lawn.
I was actually thinking more like you know in westerns the hibbity jibbity prospector with the coonskin cap and like they don't
Yeah,
fucking
kids.
speak English
Are
right.
you prepared? Are you prepared?
Yeah,
Anyway,
I've
scientists,
built my space house. I'm gonna go there and then die in my space house. And then you have
scientist, you're a
Space Cop go,
researcher.
and that's what we need. Good old-fashioned insanity on the space
A
colony.
researcher, a drone, a science commuter, or a really nerdy webcomic artist.
No.
So that's the other asshole who makes this.
There's like been one good webcomic and it's been over for years.
Well, there's others, but
I've been reading
this
Kill All
is-
Demons
ugh.
so far, and it's been good.
Homestuck?
Billington.
God,
sta-
no, not Homestuck.
Station worker.
what's different from the other one?
Well, you mean builder? I mean, the builder build things. You maintain things.
And then Survivor. This is the homeless class. There's two homeless classes.
There's theoretically 3.
Quality.
Hey, don't use such aggressive language
now we
like
have-
that. We use
now we have traits.
Survivor.
Now we have traits.
Oh.
By the way, you like
Christ.
how activist is so important? It's both an origin and a trait.
Yeah. We gotta spread the message.
Enter the singularity. You consider yourself a singularist, though you may not buy into their dangerous ideas.
The dangerous idea of Bing Bing woohooing forever in a Marioshka brain.
Full body prosthetic. You're a human brain in a cybernetic body. This grants you the android origin. Wait. Does that mean androids
benefits?
aren't actually robots? They're
Okay. What the fuck do they mean by that then?
All this
So-
it's redundancy.
It's not even redundancy. It just doesn't match up with what we've said before.
yeah.
Like, so are androids cyborgs or are they not cyborgs?
Well, you see,
Yeah,
what
because
happened is they're assholes who only watched anime and they don't understand nothing about anything. So they saw this thing called Dragon Ball Z, where they called the obvious cyborgs androids.
Tech priest. Androids don't have souls. All androids go to hell.
Gig worker. You can use 2 gig apps at once.
Gig apps. Oh fuck.
Page 56. When
Gregarious little
economic shock occurs, you're much you
Economic shock.
Yeah, see what I mean? It has nothing to do with what you do that determines your burden. It's society.
Honk, honk.
Gregarious, you're generous to a fault. Increase your starting burden by 1. Yeah, see, the higher burden is bad.
Hard shell. That means that you're tough on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I know a while ago you were in a viral video used in a meme.
A meme.
Oh fuck.
That's actually kind of funny.
When you meet a new person during a mission, you may roll 1d6. 5
It'd
to
be
6,
funny
and they
if
do. Your next
it wasn't for the previous stuff.
Like that's very cyberpunk. It's like, hey, aren't you the guy that I saw do a faceplant from a skateboard trick a year ago?
Aren't you the dude who got? Aren't you the dude who was screaming about how your crotch was on fire?
Aren't you the guy that got kicked out of a Denny's because you did a very embarrassing attempt to romance a waitress?
Aren't you
there?
Wait. You're that midget who yelled at the bagel lady.
Weren't you on Midget Fuckers 5? Dude, that was my favorite porno.
like that's a fun one. There's a lot of applications for it.
I know. Hush money, you've been bribed. Decrease your starting burn by 1, but it always costs you 1 less cash, and it always costs you 1 less cash to lower your burden. However, that means you always suffer disadvantages on tasks related to maintaining stealth, staying hidden, or keeping out of sight.
Wouldn't that just be a celebrity?
It's just, these are traits, I guess they're supposed to add a little more variation, but they kind of don't.
Impulsive.
I feel like that should be like for stigma shame, but like, how the fuck do they know where you are at all times because you took bribe money?
Because they ripped off the sins from Shadowrun.
I don't know. Law 0. You were in the Android game Law 0. Question. Does that mean you have to be an android to be a part of this gang, or is it just like android supremacists?
Probably. I guess it'd be a gang of just androids.
Oh my god! I want to make like an android Uncle Ruckus.
So you have so does that mean you have to use the origin?
He's an android supremacist, and he like just glues a bunch of diodes to his skin.
I never matter. Yeah. Over prepared. The first time you make any prep roll in a mission, you gain 1 additional prep, even on a failure. However, if either your personal group or group prep runs out during the mission, you have disadvantage on everything.
Right.
Because the plan's ruined.
So this
Choose or describe a bar, cafe, or location. You go there regularly and everyone knows your name. Once per mission, you may visit there as part of a prep action and boost it for free. If you suffer economic shock, you can't boost prep rolls on your next mission.
Oh god. Scavenger.
He loves Starbucks.
Yep, Scavenger, you just have a bunch of gubbins. Speedy, you're fast. Stoic, you're not as likely to fall apart.
Student loans.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
I'm starting to notice too, and God, this is just a little bit of a rant, but I'm noticing, it's like a lot of this shit too. It's just like, oh, you have the scavenger trait, you can do so and so, and you always have this. Is it me, or does it feel like a lot of modern RPGs are just sort of condemning loot and interesting items these days?
Kind of, yeah, kind of, nah. It's also just, I think they didn't care enough to really go into details about the traits that you have.
Mm-hmm. Trendsetter, the coolest outfit is whatever you're wearing.
Okay. Well traveled, so you have advantage on all rolls that rely on knowledge of the station's layout. Work housing. You work for a corporation and they supply your apartment.
No, the flow travel. Frequent traveling means you shopping and transport costs. You lose all your unspent cash at the end of a session.
What?
If as note here, you have advantage on all rolls that rely on your knowledge of frequent traveling. If you roll to lose unspent cash at the end of a session, roll with advantage.
Why?
Why would you roll to lose? Okay. That sounds
Is that like
stupid.
Is it trying to imply like you just spent all your money on Uber just fucking off?
Probably. I don't think they thought it through.
They needed a disadvantage when they thought of that.
Work housing, yeah, you reduce your burden, you reduce your oppression, and you can't lose your house, but you have to meet your work obligations, and you might be tracked. Okay. But here's the one I'm looking at. Example custom trait. So, lady wants to play full-body prosthetic cyborg, but not one who experiences dysphoria. Okay.
She wants this to be her true form. So
Trash.
if anything, she had dysmorphia before this.
Trash.
Yeah, this is basically you've actually managed to somehow solve your dysmorphia by becoming a robot.
Yeah, that exists. It's called amputation fetishists. That's an actual thing. And by the way, medicine usually has a very dark view on that and try to stop it and, fix the brain that gives you that idea.
Yeah.
Because it's not normal to want to mutilate yourself.
Or die.
Specialty types, let's skip that.
You're better at ones that you're better at something in here.
And here's all the things you can get. I like how activism, wow, this is making my brain hurt. Activism appears for a third fucking time. Anime's one. Anime's a specialty.
They really like it.
Gamer, Call of Duty shit talker.
Yeah, games is a thing.
Okay, so why?
Jeet Kune Do, K-pop of fucking
No.
course.
I need Australian rules football.
That's pretty
That's a
trash.
Wouldn't it be Australian football rules?
That's law
No,
wacky
it's
random.
called it's literally called Australian rules football. It's not Australian football rules. It's Australian rules football. I'm dead serious.
LGBT history. That's another one that's VTuber.
VTuber.
That's a good one.
VTuber.
Okay, that one's actually fun.
No,
This is just more random.
Your
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Studied the blade.
Studied the blade.
Okay, they're just shit posting now.
Yeah.
Obscure Grand Cross places.
Oh,
Noodle
hold
stand owner. Noodle stand owner.
I found the most useless one imaginable. We got LGBT history. Now I'm just imagining the scenario in which the fascist police come in and you just start using your LGBT.
What is a
history.
Geocity? What is a Geocity?
Geocities. It's an old website format.
Oh God.
What the hell is an ogre mock accountant?
What?
Look, one of the things is former ogre mock accountant.
I feel
the
like
low
this is
first
just
responder in above game.
We're so random,
Yeah.
and I kind of hate
Yeah.
it. It's almost like a shit post, but I don't think they are. I think this is just we're so fucking funny. Laugh at us. Name of your podcast here. Like, this just feels like we're trying to be funny. We know we're not, but we think we are. Communist. This just feels like we're trying to be funny, and it almost works, but then you realize it's that smug pat on the back style of funny.
Yeah. And that's not funny.
It almost ruins it. Yeah, there's a lot of goofy shit on here. Don't get me wrong, it's hilarious.
I run this game as a shitpost.
But
I'm actually considering
feel
it.
You can feel the smug satisfaction,
Oh, example character creation.
Boy.
Oh yeah, LGBT
Excellent.
history, but no other history. There is no history, only the history of how gay rights exist.
So she decides
The
to make
history
a
of how
K-pop
Alexander the
rapper.
Great wanted to suck dick.
K-pop rapper.
Of
Okay,
course.
are you serious?
Chooses celebrity origin. This gives her a specialty. She chooses charm and +1 to social media.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, she chooses.
Yummy.
She gets to have 3 cool, 2 quick, 1 clever, and 0 toughness. Because she isn't sure what her trait is, so she sets that aside and goes to occupation. She goes for. She already knows she wants to be an influencer.
So here's my problem with this. The maker of this character is very obviously Chinese. There is no fucking way she'd be willingly making a Korean character. Asian racism is just that strong.
Fix. Anyway, being a level 1 influencer gives her a specialty. She chooses viral. She gives the benefits of first occupation. She gets trendy wardrobe and a verified account.
Not anymore, motherfucker. You're gonna have to pay You're gonna have to pay 8 burdens for that one, motherfucker.
I'm sorry. Verified a fucking account. What the fuck?
Soy Young. Yeah, Imsit. Soy Young. Soy Young.
She picks up an influencer talent. DDoS.
But what?
So when you make
What?
fun of her, she fucking threatens your
She
website.
sends her
to destroy-
Sims to DDoS your account.
Vaporwave YouTuber. I can feel this game aging. Yeah, it's aging like the most succulent milk straight from the
Apparently,
cow.
she got hush money. So her generic specialities are famous music industry, K-pop and rap, and
Wait,
takeon.
you can pick multiple occupations and traits.
No.
Admittedly, I
Those were
wasn't paying
her
to the-
specialities. Those were her generic specialities.
I'll admit I wasn't fully paying attention to like the flow of the character chart creation chart. I didn't know you can pick multiple traits. I thought you could only pick like one. What the fuck is going on, Lamau? I don't know, Sublime. I have no clue.
She has 2 assets. She picks a vehicle / motorcycle and a license for it too.
Better hope it doesn't run on carbon emission, or else you're killing everyone in the fucking colony with it.
No, Pagan Pilot, it wasn't YouTuber, it was your tuber.
Yeah, here's the thing about if you're in an enclosed atmosphere, there's a reason you can't do things like smoke or use combustion in the internals.
Or have cows.
You will choke to death on the carbon dioxide.
She gets she also like her assets. It's a motorcycle and her license.
By the way, in 20 years, we have full augmentation cyborgs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how? We don't know. They just kind of showed up one day.
Oh, she also
is
speaking of
essentially
augments. She think it'd be
Two-Face.
cool. She think it'd be cool if it was the entire right side of her fucking body was ripped apart and then replaced with cybernetics.
Wait, she had an accident, so did she smash herself into a vehicle?
I don't know, but apparently medical augments are now free in the future.
Thank you, Space Utopia. Thank you, Space Communism. They
That
pay
would not
for my
happen in the
augmentation.
space station partially funded by the US, and you know it.
Then there's her burden. Her burden starts at 1, but rises to 3 due to her augments and lowers to 2 thanks to hush money. She talks to a fellow player, and they decide their player characters are roommates
Named
/
after
partners.
an anime character. I think both of them are. Go fuck yourself.
Well, no, that's yeah. They're sharing their burden. Blah blah blah. So they have burden 1 together.
Weeaboo disgusts me. So, game structure. Most of the time, the game is in free play. Characters hang out, do their best to get by, take actions, takes roles, generally live their lives. So it's just a slice of life, apparently.
I mean, that's fine in between shit.
But sometimes, no, it seems to be most of the time. Most of the time, you're just fucking around. Sometimes, though, you just have to do a mission because the game tells you to. Usually, the game operates in free mode unless the players decide to run a mission.
Yeah, also, that's the thing. Like, when you play Cyberpunk, the usual estimation is that you're some form of an edge runner, which
Yeah.
means that you're constantly hungry for more work and more things. You're constantly, quite literally, on the grind, trying to get money, reputation, and stuff to survive. So you're always looking for another job.
Because your career paths in Cyberpunk usually don't give you quite enough to actually live.
And sometimes you just start off unemployed.
Yep. Shadowrun operates on the same logic, and that's kind of why this doesn't work.
And of course, in classic D&D, your profession is adventure typically.
Yeah, you're doing it to make a lot of money and your own personal reasons, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. etc. Yeah. Some games you have to come up with a bit more of an excuse, like well, in some cases it's very clear, Dark Heresy, you're working for the Inquisition.
So they just go into details about action, how initiative works. The initiative, the way it works, there's 2 versions. There's simple, solid state, where they act as a group. The GM describes the scene and what the side characters do. The players decide among themselves what order they go in, and that's how it goes. The other is just 2d6 plus quick plus initiative specialty.
I mean, I don't really have the biggest problem between players deciding which ones go first, because I would only have that in regards to indirectly in combat.
Yeah. Other matters and other bloodshed. It's a game of social interaction first and foremost. Most of the time, the simplest to act out conversations naturally as flow of play permits. Sometimes a social situation comes up where there's opportunity far more than one-on-one. Each scene has a mood. I'm not a fan of how they describe because this feels powered by the apocalypse when they do this. So the moods are friendly, indifferent, formal, hostile, sexy.
We should probably wrap up because holy shit, we're running long.
We only done not even 30 pages out of like 400.
By the way, I would have ended earlier, but this is your punishment, Biggs.
Oh,
Yeah.
so what the fuck were you guys doing that took this long?
Let's just say the
Hating the
first
world
chapter,
building. Hating the world
the
building.
world
hating the world
building, every 2 sentences, something stupid fucking popped out.
So now I can make my own VTuber that skateboards around on a hover bike. That's
I
having
could make a
conversations all over the place.
deranged android who flips over police cars and screams.
I just love the Chuck E. Cheese mechanic who just one day gives up, screams boggers, shaves its fur off, and then just starts punching the parents at the Chuck E. Cheese. There's just something magical about that.
I'm imagining just like gritty in like cyberpunk and
Well, yeah, what happens is he removes the Chuck
flipping
E.
over a
Cheese
cop
shirt
car.
and he just plops on like a biker jacket, wears like
Yes.
a fucking cap with like a political party slogan on it, wears like spike. Well, he can't wear boots because his hands and feet are too big, but he puts like spikes on his mouse feet. And he has a chainsaw arm now, inexplicably.
He like charges into like the riot barricades, knocks them aside, guns down the police chief.
And his
like,
catchphrase is literally
"Poggers."
his catchphrase is literally "puckers." he just
Poggers!
he just psychologically fell apart because working every day of your life entertaining entitled children and parents just destroyed his robotic mind.
Like his like the personal motivation for the character is he's gonna hunt down all the children that fucked with his animatronics.
No, he's literally trying to actively destroy every location of Chuck E. Cheese on Grand Cross
Yes.
for having the audacity to create him.
Yes.
He hates his own existence, and he's just going on a mass rage against the machine so that he can finally either end the corporation that made him or find peace through destruction.
See, that would be actually good, which is why that's not in the game.
Look,
When are we
that's
gonna
the
get-
campaign? That's the campaign.
Hey, game makers, when's my Five Nights at Freddy's game coming out, you fuckers? Get on
That's
it.
basically what you can do with this.
Leading a rebellion, and you
But-
guys are his generals.
But nothing else. Let's at least finish. Let's do the social stuff because oh boy,
Yeah.
bullshit. So this is an actual system that wasn't just a joke. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's essentially bluff where you just create a string of words to distract and make people not pay attention to the real thing you're doing. Or you're just making up stuff like, oh yeah, I'm totally allowed into the party. Like, after all, I'm one of the coordinators. See, clearly I have the badge and everything. Just flash it real quick, and then you don't let them scan
Oh
it.
no, or you're doing that thing. It's like, hey, what are you doing here? It's like the guards.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah. Do you know who I am? You. Oh wow, you really must be out of place. Like, what are you doing here, actually?
Look, because you're interfering, I could totally give you a demerit, my man. But just because I like you and you're just trying to do your job, just don't mention anything, and I'll let you go on your way, and I'll even write up your report because you actually stopped me. And that's a good thing. You did your job, but this is very important. People could die if you don't let me work on this. Yeah, it's the art of just making stuff up and making people believe it. My problem is this is suffering from Powered by the Apocalypse, where they just assume that players are so socially stunted that when it comes to social scenes, they have to describe in detail how to function as a human being. Which, to me, that's always been a problem with these types of games. Like, bruh, come on, people know how to interact. I mean, yeah, if you're playing a tabletop RPG, you're socially stunted. Let's be fair, you probably are.
Is this another case of us violently retreating from this shit show, or are we going to push forward next week?
Oh, by the way, in another ongoing tradition on the next page, it's the artist changed.
Oh, yeah.
Did they literally get the people who worked on the Thirsty Sword?
You tell me,
lesbians?
buddy. You look.
Yeah.
They look like
Yeah.
Thirsty Sword. Oh, especially this rape scene here.
Yeah.
That's rape. That's clearly rape.
Hey, honey. Hey, honey. Want to come back to my place?
You can see the nerd like that. That is not interest. That is fear.
Yeah.
Well, no. Well, obviously, she's clearly a useless lesbian.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
Oh, I just
Yeah.
realized that the awful fade cut lady is so young.
Yeah.
So this is her sexually harassing some poor lady. Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. She's chosen her target, an executive assistant who's getting tired of the corporate world.
She clearly is not. I'm sorry, but this is not desire. This is fear. Her body posture is clearly showing unease, nerves, and fear. Do you know who I am? Shows fucking Twitter, Instagram account, whatever, at the cop who's dressed like the most airline steward ever. Do you know who I am? Oh my god, please don't give a bad review on my rest.
He's not even a cop. He's some random ganger in like a porn police costume.
Secure.
You know what? I think we can probably
End it there.
end it here because this is mainly mechanics, and I'll give credit to this.
That art was where we ended it.
So the question is: are we gonna continue forward next time, or are we retreating violently?
I say no.
Maybe.
I say yes, and here's why. We didn't even get to the stupidity that is Grand Cross's city design.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
Here's the thing. You know Berlin by Night and how the dumbest part was the adventure module that I wanted to end? Yeah, that's the same problem. We didn't get through all the stupid. There's more.
Oh boy.
So, while we'll probably skip the mechanics, I think that would be fair.
Can we admire the art?
We'll admire the art, we'll skip the mechanics, because, hey, this incentivizes you to actually maybe buy this, because I'll say this, the game doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, like, jokes aside, we shot on the lore, but
the mechanics are solid.
Let's put it this way, this is still better, this is still in the top tier, upper tier stuff, of the bad stuff we've reviewed.
This is... I would actually say this is the love child of Sigmata, but I can't really say Reifufu because it doesn't quite get there.
Yeah, it's nowhere near Reifufu.
It's Sigmata and Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And that makes it interesting.
At the very least, I would run this as a parody of itself.
Like, there's a version of Stigmata I remember that's basically it's something like bullets and balaclavas or something like that. Which is like,
that's at least decent.
Yeah, what happened was they actually made the mechanics just there.
I just want to note this. You know, you could just do this in Cyberpunk 2020 because there's a whole fucking moon and space station.
Yeah, there are.
But you don't understand. Mike Pondsmith is evil.
Why?
Because
why?
he said things we disagree with once several years ago, and that means that we must psychotically destroy him.
Also, he's black.
Yeah,
he is a black man who said statements that black people should not say, ergo wrong thing. So we must destroy him.
Also, he created the unique language Black folk.
Oh my god, I keep forgetting about that.
That is a language in 2020, Black folk.
Ja.
That's I'm sorry, but what?
Oh yeah, one of the racial language for African American is English or Black folk.
Essentially, Ebonics taking to its extreme.
Okay.
Ebonics basically became a Creole of English, I think.
That is an actual rule, a stat block from in 2020.
It's literally I speak jive.
Yeah, it's just
that's all I can think of. That's all I can think of is that fucking scene from Airplane.
It's that scene from Airplane, but imagine if it's been designed as a Creole. Like, it has become a straight Creole of English.
Well, the thing is, I could see it as like a thieves' cant.
So the
Oh
cops
no, Randall!
oh,
you did
no, Randall,
Oh,
no!
that was
Randall.
pretty
I'm sorry.
unfortunate.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't intend. Okay.
You mean like a trade can't?
Yeah.
Like something like Pigeon English, sort of?
All right, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, where like it's adapted into like it is its own distinct branch of the language, but it's still somewhat intelligible.
unfortunately, we're gonna have to cancel Randall. Unfortunately, he's
We
no
have to
longer welcome
we have to
Dice Scum.
cancel Randall. We're
We
gonna
already
have to
have
year
to like
zero
5
him.
minutes into this.
Wow.
We have to year zero. Randall never
Look,
existed. Only friend
I'm
computer.
legitimately sorry.
We are not the
Was
sheep we were
thinking
made to
something like
wool.
Cockney.
We
You
work
were
for
thinking
the
of something
planet.
like how like the Scandinavian language is all kind of branched out.
Actually, you know that one Russian dialect that's like on the borderlands of Belarus, where it's like a weird polyglot between the two, and it's
Yeah.
mainly used by a couple of cities near the border. I was
Yeah.
thinking that's kind of how how his take on that would have been.
I was assuming something more like the difference between like Norwegian and Swedish, where it's
I
basically
mean, I
mutually intelligible.
I would have just said something what Sicilian.
But it's like
mean.
it's spelled differently, and then there's stuff like that. Or if we're
It
going to
could
go
be
extreme
like-
here,
If we're going with English, it could be like the Geordie dialect, where it's very different from
Oh, yeah.
standard English,
Yeah.
like Queen's English.
it could also be like Serb and Croatian. They're the same fucking language. It's just that you pronounce certain
Don't tell
things
them
slightly
that.
differently.
I would have said for an actual example, Sicilian.
Oh yeah, that's actually a really good example too.
Well, Sicilian is
Yeah.
actually diverged
because people forget this. Ebonics isn't just a corruption of English; it's English that's gone through several different West African languages as well.
And you can see that in Sicilian, which is just different enough from the other. It's similar because Italy kind of technically has 2.5 full languages in a way.
I mean,
But
it
Sicilian
can't be.
it has a lot of weird influences from all the different people who owned it.
It can't be any weirder than Maltese.
Which, fun fact, is a Semitic language.
Semitic language that uses the Roman alphabet. That it's a weird
It's
language.
also the last Siculo-Arabic dialect still around.
Yes.
Italian Arabic.
Really? Huh.
Yes, because Malta was owned at various points by Berber tribes, by the Phoenicians, by various Italian groups. Then
The Knights.
the Knights of Rhodes that then became
Who were
the
French.
Knights of Malta.
Who are French.
The French, yes, the British for a while too. So they all speak English, but also Maltese, and Malta's a weird place, basically.
The world building was both stupid and non-existent. Congrats, that's hard to do. Slow clap from Megan Pilot. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Let's put it this way, though. This can we all agree, though reading through? I know this isn't high praise, but reading through this didn't hurt our brains anywhere close to what Schalt was.
I was annoyed at the world building.
It's annoying, but it's not.
It hurt your brain.
It's not Schalt. Schalt is
worth.
It's eye rolling at points, but it's not like offensively like this is so fucking dumb.
Yeah, that's the thing I'll give it. Also, it's entertainingly dumb sometimes.
Yeah. Like this is the kind of thing where you bust it out and you're like, this is really stupid. It's not like it's offensively bad like Chalt. It's not like it's brain meltingly bad like something like World of Cinnabar.
I could crack open Hardwired Island and it's mechanically stable. It works fine. And while it is massively cringy at points because of the talking points they throw in,
yeah,
there's something like, as mentioned, you could legitimately play a psychotic Chuck E. Cheese animatronic designed to entertain children, and you've said screw that life and have become a hardcore gangbanger. You could be the Amazon half man in the wage cage, where they just cut your body parts to pieces, so you have to install yourself into the fucking wage cage.
That's just Deviants.
No, Deviants the Renegade's very different.
Yeah, Deviant is genuinely a weird game.
I'm just giving it
another
another one could be you're just like some fat weirdo who lives in a one-room apartment, but you make a lot of money because through vocoder technology that you've created, you've become like one of the bigger VTuber girls.
You've become an anime girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
You could do
every
that.
Every nerd's dream.
You could be the 11-year-old from RoboCop 2 who smokes a cigar and blows people away with a fucking machine gun. That is completely fair.
You can be Ed. You can be Ed.
Be a rogue Chuck E. Cheese mascot.
And
We mentioned
that's
that already.
why I don't
can't
think it
hate
was.
this.
I don't think it's cynical. I mean, it is in the sense that they tried to appeal to politics, but
They're trying to appeal to a certain crowd to get people to buy the game.
I feel like I don't know how to describe it. It's half genuine, half not. It doesn't feel like Thirsty Sword Lesbians, which was a very cynical cash grab.
It's like they have this idea of we've got an O'Neill cylinder in space, we gotta save it.
I watched a
seems to
lot
be
of
the core
anime.
idea.
I binge watched Gundam. I fucking love Evangelion and Ghost in the Shell. I want to make
Yeah.
a book based on that.
Yeah.
But I know it's not going to sell, so I'm going to be an asshole and crib from Cyberpunk, and then appeal to because look at these people that spend millions of dollars on games that basically say screw anyone that's not us, like that one Native American game that they're now complaining that because they've earned $1 million they still need more. I forget the name of it. Well, you know that Wolf and Crow like Native American modern setting game,
the one where it's like the
Cahokia but crap.
Yeah, like
they made like $1 million or something, and they're whining that they're not making money.
Then what the fuck are you spending your money on? Like, are you funding expeditions to fucking Cahokia?
No. Obviously, they put it all in FTX.
Oh, that
I
might
wouldn't
actually
be
be
surprised.
True,
I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to exploit the crypto bubble, since that's when it was around.
They invested all their money in firewater and guns.
They stole the one out of 64th Cherokee, because I think they were mostly like, you know, those guys that claim native ancestry but they really aren't.
Yeah.
I always got that vibe from them. Coyote and Crow, yeah, that one.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like the actual state of the reservations is like if they got $1 million, they'd be fucking ecstatic.
Oh yeah.
Like holy fuck.
To give you an idea, Onyx Path can produce a book for like 100K.
Yeah.
Modifius, on average, they make a game for like 50K.
All right. Here's the thing with the Onyx Path, though, is that Onyx Path also does a print on demand, and they also do a thing where they have a built-in audience already, so they can make a book on 100K because they've got enough funding from other sources as well. A startup project is going to cost more money. Now, I don't know how it would cost you $1 million to find a printer, though.
I don't think it did. I think it was just either horrendous incompetence or
and how many people
sales.
And also, bad sales. Also, how many people are you bringing into the company?
The best part is the reason their sales probably were worse was they actually critiqued people who were not Native American from buying it, and then afterwards they got angry at them for not buying it.
Yeah, like the idea of a Cahokian civilization managing to create a nation state that lasts to the modern day is very interesting.
I mean, Shadowrun did it much more interesting.
Well, I was going to say,
Shadowrun did it in a fucking crazy, stupid way. Okay, like Shadowrun had
a crazy, stupid, awesome way.
Yeah.
Shadowrun has a fucking great ghost dance that comes in like bare minimum understanding of native cultures and goes, oh yeah, the ghost dance is a thing. Let's do that. Let's have all the Native Americans get in a big happy tribe powwow and fucking blow up volcanoes. Like, it is very 80s. It is very weird. It's very wonky. Later books do try to address this a little bit, where they go into the actual politics of like the Sioux Nation in Shadowrun, where it's like, it is fucked because there are a bunch of tribes here that do not like each other, that are stuck under the Sioux government. And the Sioux are the ones that are always going to try to dominate it militarily.
That's actually very interesting.
Yes, it's much more interesting than it looks on the surface, but it took them years to get to that point.
This actually kind of reminds me of, I have a D&D setting set kind of in the mid to late gunpowder period, earlier, not quite the dawn of industry period, Napoleonic era.
Yeah.
And
can I say its name, or am I not allowed?
It's fine. It's fine.
Is it Gunlock?
Yeah, it's Gunlock. I call it Gunlock because it's actually based on, I think, a concept way back when that I came up with a friend. But one of the things I had was in the North America setting, one of the divergences is I kind of had Mormon theology kind of be right, in that a couple of the lost tribes actually migrated all the way to the Americas from the Pacific. And because of that, they brought in a couple of packages which allowed them to advance.
So wait, from the Pacific, so they traveled like the Polynesians.
By the end of it, like maybe half a tribe survived. Yeah.
Wait, I gotta head off. Good night.
Same.
All right.
Like-
With that in mind, have a good night, everyone. This is going to go completely into off topic. Next week, it'll probably be something else. Just as a heads up. So, night, y'all. Before we go, though, feel free to stop by our Discord. We have a permanent link now for all of the videos. So, it'll always work, the Discord link. And
Our
insert begging for subscribers here. But we got to go. It's almost 3 hours. See ya.
Yeah, see ya.